This is a generational talent.
It's a shock to the system.
It's real.
This is a seminal moment in the history of New York baseball.
I'm on a new level. New level, bringing old records. I'm on a new level. Watch out, I'm on a new level.
We putting work, turning nothing into something. They feelings hurt, we turning nothing into something. Give a fuck if they don't like me, cause all this bread I count excites me. Turning nothing to something, nothing into something. Turning nothing into something, nothing into something. Give a fuck if they don't like me, cause all this bread I count excites me. Racks on top of racks. See my bitch.
What up, what up, what up, what up? What is going on, everybody? What is going on? You know who it is, and you know what it is. It's the moment we've all been waiting for, the moment we've been waiting years for, depending on how long you're a Mets fan. But we've been waiting for a moment like this for a long time, right? A moment that, in my opinion, really is like that Steve Cohen, like a rival party, coming out party, statement day, whatever you want to call it. Yes, it's a Juan Soto introductory press conference day. But to me, like I said, it's the day where Steve Cohen really says, I'm here. I'm here and I mean business. You know what I'm saying? Went head to toe with the Yankees for a player they wanted, no matter what their fans try to say right now. No matter what their fans try to say right now, how their fans try to play it, is a player that they all wanted. We wanted, they wanted, and we went toe-to-toe with them head-to-head and came away with the prize. So, yeah, this is definitely Steve Cohen's coming out party. But we're here, to watch this press conference together, to react to it, to party, to enjoy it, to rejoice, to celebrate, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to do it together as Met fans. As I got it out here, and I will have it up on the screen. Actually, we could even bring it up now and have it on mute just so that we're ready to go as soon as it gets started. Okay, I don't want it to like completely drown me out either, right? That's not what we want. Let's see. How do we want to do this? How do we want to do it? Do we want to do it like this? Let's leave it like this for now. But yeah, man. Excited, so excited. There has been some other news go on. You had the Rule 5 draft happen. I forget if it was actually yesterday or the day before, but that happened. So real quick, we'll touch on that. The Mets did lose a couple of players in the Rule 5, and Nate Lavender and Mike Vasil. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. Ironically, both went to the Rays different ways, right? So the Rays outright drafted Nate Lavender. Okay, no problem. Then I'm going to say they had the Phillies go ahead and draft Mike Vasil, and trade him to the Rays. Now, with both guys, if you don't know, Rule 5 draft, a team could select a player from a team that, 40-man roster. If you do, you have to keep that player on your 40-man roster, right? You have to keep that player on your 40-man roster for the entirety of the season. If you don't do that, you have to return the player or give the prior team an opportunity to take the player back. And when the player is drafted in the Rule 5 draft, I think the team drafting the player has to give the other team $100,000. When you send them back, now you get half of that money back. Whatever. So the point is, the Rays got both of these guys. They'll have to keep both of these guys on the Major League roster for the entirety of the year. If not, the Mets get an opportunity to have them back. Now, with Lavender, because you can't have a player on the injured list. You could have him on the injured list. With Lavender, we know he's coming off of, the modern-day Tommy John, I guess, that band surgery that they do. So he'll be on the 60-day DL to start for them. And then we'll see what happens from there. Would have been the case with the Mets also. But after that, if he's ready to go, they'll have to put him on the major league roster. Like I said, if not, send him back to the Mets, or at least give the Mets opportunity to take him back. So that's that. That's gone on so far. We already know 15 years, $765 million, as you can see it there on the SNY screen too. Why we have the closed caption on that, I don't know. We'll take that off as we do this live. But we know it's 15 years, $765 big million. We know about the opt-out after 5 years and the Mets' opportunity to raise it from 51 to 55. As I see here on my TV screen, which is a little bit faster than the stream, Soto works his way up to the press conference, to the podium. And how about that? We saw last year when the Yankees traded for him, when they had that bootleg introductory press conference on Zoom. None of that this year. None of that this year. Live and in person. His real welcome to New York City, baby, is out here in Queens. But here we go.
Right now.
He's coming. Right. He's right here.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to this extraordinary day in team history.
Extraordinary indeed.
Before we begin, we'd like to welcome everyone who's watching on Mets social channels, SNY, and MLB Network.
Just want to be sure you guys can hear the audio from the press conference. Right? Just let me know in the comments. And thank you for joining us.
David Stearns.
Thank you, Ethan. And thank everyone for coming today on what is a special day for our organization as we welcome Juan Soto and his family to the Mets. To get to a day like this, it takes a lot of effort on the part of a lot of different people. I first want to thank Juan for his sincerity and authenticity throughout this process. His agent, Scott Boris, and Boris Corp for their tireless work to facilitate this agreement. And our owners, Steve and Alex Cohen, for their persistence and unwavering commitment to this pursuit. Juan's performance on the field, his accolades, his talent speak for themselves. His consistency at such a young age is nearly unprecedented in the history of baseball. His impact on a lineup matches that of any player in our game today. All of that is really important, and all of that is going to help us win a lot of games. But what made this match so right is that throughout his career, Juan has embodied the fun and focus, the energy and passion that reflects our values as an organization and a team. We're thrilled to bring Juan into our team. We're thrilled to bring his family into ours. And we're excited to continue to collectively build an organization that allows us to compete at the pinnacle of our sport on an annual basis. And we're confident that Juan's going to be a very big part of that. With that, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, David. This is a huge day for the Mets. I'm just incredibly excited. I want to reiterate, welcoming Juan and the Soto family to the Mets family. I want to thank Juan and Scott for believing in what we're building here. That means an incredible amount to me and Alex. I want to thank Josh, my son Josh, for contributing a phenomenal video. I want to thank my father-in-law, Ralph, who flew cross country at 93 years old to be part of that first meeting, and really appreciate that, Ralph. And then I want to thank Alex for, she's finally getting the recognition for what she does for the team and for families, and makes this a family-friendly environment at the Mets. I'm so happy we got there, Juan and Scott. It wasn't an easy process. Okay, I mean, there were moments when, there were so many emotions. It took about 10 days, and just so many emotions to get to where we got to. But I always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And we got there. So, I'm excited by the Mets' future. I think this accelerates, our goal of winning championships. I'm elated. I know the fans are over the top. So let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets, baby. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve, baby. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, David
I'd like to
Stearns.
invite the 4 members of the
Thank
dais
you,
to the front of the stage. for the
Father-in-law
jersey
Ralph,
presentation.
everybody. Thank you, everybody but Scott Boris. Thank you, Juan Soto. Oh, man, this is what I want to see, baby. This is what I want to see. Woo! This is when it's going to make it real right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is when it's going to make it real. We see the mocked-up pictures of him in Mets jersey, right? We're going to see the real deal right here, baby. Right? We see the mock-up pictures of him. He is the real deal, baby. He is the matter of fact. Get off the screen, Hector. Get off the screen, Hector. Let the people see this beautiful picture right here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And not on Zoom, ladies and gentlemen. Not on Zoom. Not on Zoom. Wow. Beautiful sight indeed, Junior. Shout out to all of you beautiful people, man. Beautiful sight indeed. Cindy, Darren. Juan.
Thank you very much.
Irabo, my dude. What is up? What is up, baby? Beautiful sight indeed. Beautiful sight indeed.
I'd now like to turn it over to Juan Soto, the newest Met, for his opening remarks.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Cohen family for making me be part of the Mets organization. Definitely, Steve, Alex, you guys make it possible. Really excited, to be here to form part of this family. Definitely, I want to thank David and Mandy for have their times and explain me better how we can make these a winning franchise and keep growing and growing more and more. Definitely, I want to thank my family. They were the number ones. They were right there every day since day one, believing on me, cheering for me, and being there in every step that I take in my life. And definitely in one of the biggest ones that I just made. And I'm more than excited to share these with them and to move forward from here. Definitely thanks, Scott, for all the knowledge and everything that you gave me, all the information and stuff to help me out to go through all these stuff. And the Boris Corporation, you guys were amazing. I think you guys are the best of the best. Definitely, you aren't my agent anymore. You guys are my family still. And then we're going to take it out all the way until I'm in my grave. So really happy for that. And more than excited to be here and part of all this stuff.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Even your family that was telling you be a Yankee,
We'll hear from
Juan
Soto's attorney, Scott Boris.
Thank you.
boy,
Our
here we
hope
go.
always is that you can provide a player with insight and information so that he can make the most informed decision. And Steve and Alex and Grandpa. Gosh, I thank you for letting Juan and his family know who you are apart from the business of the game. David, great appreciation. Having done many of these, I know that this one was one that there was so much information that went to Juan and his family. I very much thank the Supreme Court of Soto, the family, for giving me the direction and providing Juan with the stability and the love so he could truly arrive at a decision that was in his heart. And that's great. As far as baseball, couldn't be happier. The game is your life. Who this man is, he serves an example for every player, for everyone, of what you should do on and off the field, how you conduct yourself. And I'm so happy that he gets to do it in a forum that he so chooses, and one of this integrity. And I just can't wait for the next 15 years, maybe 20, that this goes to be an extraordinary relationship. Thank you.
No cap for this combo.
At this time, we'll
Even
open
the
up for
media,
some
like, do we
questions.
have to
There,
cap for this
there are
guy?
various microphones throughout the room. Please raise your hand. Our first question is from Steve Gelbs.
Juan, first of all, congratulations. You guys were just talking about all the information that came through. What, at the end of the day, pushed the Mets over the top? Why did you choose the Mets?
I mean, the Mets is a great organization, and what they have done in the past couple of years, showing all the ability to keep winning, to keep growing a team, to try to grow a dynasty, is one of the most important things. Definitely, what you were seeing from the other side was unbelievable, and the buzz and everything in the field and the future that this team has has a lot to do with my decision.
Yes, sir.
Next question is from Tony DeComo.
The question's for Steve. You've done a lot over the last 5 years to try to improve the reputation of this franchise. What does this move do in terms of achieving that?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a huge move. I think it's, just puts an accent on what we're trying to do. I mean, it just, like I said, it accelerates, our goal of winning championships. But more important, I think, I kind of said it in the locker room after one of our playoff victories that, my goal was to change how the Mets were reviewed, and I think we're really on the path of changing that. And we're never going to stop. We're always in a constant state of improvement. And but that's my goal. My goal is that the Mets are going to be a premier, one of the elite teams in Major League Baseball.
Well, this was the first big step, baby.
Juan Soto bring more Spanish to City Field. Juan, en español, primero lo que siente de ponerte la camiseta de los Mets y que finalmente sabe que va a estar con un equipo más allá de un año, más allá de una temporada.
Se siente muy bien formar parte de esta organización. Yo creo que, gracias a Dios, todo lo que hemos visto en los papeles y todo lo que nos enseñaron antes de fue muchas cosas buenas, muchas cosas positivas. Más que contento de formar parte de esto, de la dinastía que ellos quieren crear y para el futuro, ¿sabes? Son 15 años que estaremos aquí, si Dios lo permite, tratando de ganar los más campeonatos que se pueda y tratando de salir hacia adelante cada día más.
Dynasty, baby. Dynasty.
Okay, pass the mic
I want to
here.
be a part of that dynasty they're trying to form here, baby.
Junior, además de la amabilidad del T-Coin, de Alex, Rafa que está aquí, Josh, de toda su familia, de David y por supuesto también de Cock. Parte de que tú llegaras aquí es porque lo que tú querías se te aceptó, pero además podríamos decir también que es la confraternidad, el intercambio que tú has tenido también con la diáspora, con los latinos, no solamente dominicanos aquí en Nueva York.
Yo creo que al final del día me han tratado demasiado bien la comunidad latina aquí en Nueva York. Ha sido un increíble trato desde el año pasado. Siempre estuvieron ahí dándome el apoyo, contento, siempre enseñándome, dándome el cariño, tú sabes. Somos dominicanos y nos sentimos bien de formar parte de eso. Yo creo que la ciudad de Nueva York es una de las mejores ciudades para una persona viniendo de la República Dominicana, porque el cariño y el aprecio que se da, y no solo la República Dominicana, sino cualquier latino, yo creo que tiene mucho que ver con la ciudad de Nueva York. Cada vez que llegan aquí se sienten bienvenidos y se sienten como en casa.
Tim Healy.
Juan, a couple of weeks ago when you met with the Mets for the first time, what impression did you get of them, and what did you think of Steve's house in LA?
The house is pretty nice. It's really, really nice. But definitely, what they showed me and how the organization runs teams and how they're gonna manage things and how they look at their future. I think it was one of the things that opened my eyes a little bit more. What they've been constructing and building to take all the way up to 15 years, 20 years, you never know. But definitely that was one of the things that opened my eyes more. How hungry they are to win a championship and to want to make a dynasty in the New York Mets.
Or Albanese.
Juan, you had mentioned family a few times, and Steve, so did you. What about this organization make you feel that this would be a good place for your family?
I think, like I said before, the city of New York is always welcoming you and making you feel your family great. You know, it's a lot to do with that. For definitely what they show and how what they have and what they do in here, I think it's one of the biggest things for me. And when I see it and look at my family, I think they're gonna have the best time. And that's what I look up. What they show me, they always talk about family. They always talk about stick together and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that opened my eyes and in the side of my family, in the standpoint, and that's when I start thinking about all the love that they can give me for me and my family.
Abby Mastrakowicz.
Juan, what familiarity do you have with some guys on the Mets already, and just what are your impressions of how the lineup might look with you in it?
I've been watching those guys across the field for a couple of years. Definitely, never get to sit down with them or anything like that. Definitely, I talked to Marte a little bit in the off season, year past. But what I see from these guys, they are hard workers. They're grinding every day and they showing up every day. My personal lineup is really nice. I think we have one of the best leadoff hitters in the game, and I feel like we can even feel a little bit more. But definitely, it looks really good so far.
Steve, you said this was not an easy process. Why wasn't it?
Well, listen, I mean, this was a competitive process. There were many teams involved, and it was hard to know where you stood, and it was a moving target, right? Things were changing by the day. And so, so there were moments when you start questioning whether you're going to be successful at this. And so, but in the end, I got the call I wanted at the end.
We'll take a couple more.
Hey, Juan.
Got the call we
you've been
all
looking
wanted,
forward to free
Steve.
agency for
Got the
quite a
call
long
we all
time now with
wanted.
a number of teams. Could you have imagined that a team would go to the lengths that it did to get you, both financially and otherwise, effort-wise?
For me, I really, they show me a lot of love on the standpoint of what they have for me and how they're going to try to make it comfortable for me. That's one of the things that impressed me more, and how they're going to treat everybody around me and my family and stuff like that. That's one of the things I was looking for. At the end of the day, you're trying to be comfortable where you're at and have a good time. Money standpoint, definitely is going to be there. It's going to come. It's always great, but definitely it was really impressed with what they showed me that they can do with my family and stuff like that.
Last one is Manny Gomez.
Just first of all, felicidades, Juan. Secondly, have you been in touch with anybody from your former team, and can you share what those conversations?
Nobody cares about his former team right now.
Could you share what those conversations might have been like?
I haven't talked to any of those guys. Definitely, we talked to them through playoff at the end of the playoffs, but after that, I make these processes. I haven't talked to any of those guys.
Thank you very much. Before we bring up the rest of the family for some photos, we'd like to have everyone gather, all the print and writers on this side of the stage. The TV stations will come to the front of the stage after the photos, and our Latin media will be off on that side of the stage. At this time now, we'd like to invite.
All right, so we just heard from Juan Soto, David Stearns, Scott Boras, and Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, chairman, CEO. And
well, there it is. Bro. There it is.
Wife,
there it is. The
Alex.
first words
rightly
we get
so,
from him as
because
a Met.
one of the things we heard from Juan Soto over and over and over again.
Now, as we'll come
was
back,
the
I'm
love
sure
they
there's going to be
showed towards
one-on-ones
not
and
just
stuff
Juan,
like that. So we'll watch some of that and we'll react to some of
This
that.
was a big thing,
But just a couple of things that stood out.
It was
Real
very
quick,
clear
just
how
listening to
important
these
that
early
was.
comments is, you know what? I'm just gonna mute it. I was just gonna lower it, but you know, sometimes Martino says something that you may want to hear. But listen, man, excited, just great, man. Like as a lot of you guys have said, and I put up here on the screen, it's just a beautiful sight to see him finally put on that crispy white pinstripe Mets jersey. Not a Yankee jersey, and that nice crisp blue hat, just beautiful, just beautiful. But a couple of things that stood out, and I think one will start from the back, from the end there, I should say. And I see Darren here puts it up. Yeah, he did not talk to any of the Yankees. Now, was that because he wanted to kind of keep to himself and not, you know, okay. At the same time, we know and we saw that Aaron Judge said he just gave him space. You already know how we felt. And I came out and said, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Because if I was a team that's trying to land Juan Soto, I'd be every day in his ear, sending him texts, sending him DMs, whatever the case may be, to the point that he would have to tell me, leave me the hell alone. Leave me the hell alone. You know what I'm saying?
He's a real quiet kind of family guy. So
that even if he said right now, yeah, I spoke to those guys, man, those guys, they you know, shout out to those guys, they really, you know, wanted me there, they whatever, they did everything they could. But I just felt like this at the end of the day was the best place for me. But to not even try, big mistake in my opinion. The other thing along those lines is, listen, we could try to dismiss it. I myself said I don't want to hear it. You came here for the money. Don't give me none of this nonsense. And at least we didn't hear anything about the prospects and all of that. We heard about how, you know, him believing in the dynasty and him wanting to be a part of the dynasty that they're trying to build, you know, and liking what he heard from David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza, which that thing is huge. Oh, hold on a second. As we're gonna have well, obviously the TV is a little faster, but the family aspect of Alex Cohen and Steve Cohen, that did play a factor. That did play a factor. Now, was it the main factor? No, obviously we know $275 million was the main factor, but here we go.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. Yeah, very, very happy Steve Cohen, to say the least.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
You mentioned how difficult a process this is and was, and we all knew it would be. What was the roller coaster of emotions for you? Was there a point in time where you thought we're definitely out? And when was the moment where you said, oh my God, I think we got him?
Yeah, there were a bunch of times where it felt like we were kind of swimming upstream. Wasn't sure if we were going to get to the promised land. And I mean, even the night that of the agreement, I was having dinner with a friend in a restaurant in Florida, and I walked out to take a call, came back and said, I don't think we're getting them.
Really?
Yeah. And so, and then about a half hour later, it turned completely around. And all of a sudden I realized, wow, we're not that far apart. Like, this may happen. And so, that's pretty emotional in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Listen, this is a contract that has never been seen before in the history of North American pro sports. The numbers speak for themselves about why he is worth such a big investment. But beyond that, when you're committing that amount of years, that amount of money, what was it in your conversations with Juan Soto that made you realize he's the guy to do it for?
Well, I mean, obviously we know, his abilities. So, clearly one of the greatest ball players that have come into baseball in a long time. That's why I requested a second meeting, because, I met him the first time. I felt like, it was a little bit more of a hello, how are you, that type of thing. But I wanted to get to know him as a person. If I was going to commit that type of money, I wanted to feel like this was going to work. And after the second meeting, I knew this could really be, good for both of us.
What did you learn in that second meeting that made you feel that?
He just opened up, like it was really like being human to human. right, and not be as guarded. And so I learned about him as a person. I learned how much he cared about his family, how much he, cares about. He's just focused on being the best baseball player he could be. And so, I felt a connection.
So you mentioned the word family, and we know it's so important to Juan Soto, and it has been something that has been, like you said, now talked about a little bit more, but something that has been so obvious under your ownership with your wife, Alex. So bringing out your father-in-law, Ralph, who is as big a Mets fan as any of us have ever seen, what do you think you are able to get across to players in that moment when you bring family and treat them like family?
Well, we want to show them that we're just not an executive, or we don't care about them as people. And I wanted to show them who we were and what we're about. I've learned that from running my hedge fund, that have a personal touch, right, and act like you care about the person, which I do. I can't help it. I actually care about people.
Yeah. It's nothing that you want to apologize for. So
No, I feel great about it. It's worked for me forever.
Well, Steve Cohen, congratulations. An amazing day for the organization. As you said it in your statement with your wife, a seminal moment for the Mets organization. Thanks so much for a few minutes.
Okay.
All right, Gary, back to you.
All right, Steve and Steve, we thank you both. I thought it was interesting
Steve
listening
and
to Steve
Steve.
Cohen during the press conference.
Amazing.
That
Amazing
this really
again,
does
ladies and
accelerate
gentlemen.
the
Just
goal of winning
amazing.
championships. And as much as family is such a huge part about
We'll
this,
keep
and we
this
know
here
this,
again.
Steve
We'll
spoke
keep it on
about
the
it there,
side because I'm
human
sure
touch
there's
that
going to be
really was
more
the thing
one-on-ones.
that put
We're
him
going
over
to
the
see
edge
a
that said,
Soto
okay, this is
one-on-one. We're
what
going to
we
want to
said
hear
we
that.
wanted. 65
I'm
million
sure we'll have
dollars.
Stearns one-on-one. I'm sure Mendoza's there. I'm surprised we
The
didn't hear
ability
from
to win
him. We'll have a
championships. That
Mendoza
is what Steve
one-on-one.
Cohen
Oh,
wants
yeah, I
to
see
bring to the
Soto's
Mets
already
as he
there.
gets set for his fifth year.
But again, man,
with the
listen,
team. Let's go back to
we
Steve and
learn.
Juan Soto.
Oh, here we go.
Gary here with the man of the hour, Juan Soto. Juan, once again, congratulations. Nobody in the history of North American pro sports has ever signed a deal like the one you just signed. So considering none of us will ever feel that way, what did it feel like to agree to that contract and ultimately sign pen to paper?
For me, it feels great. It's, at the end of the day, it's all about the decisions we make as a family. We really sit down and put everything together, see what is going to be our best spot, and definitely we make the decision. I think that's besides the money, that's the feel that we're getting, like to have in a place that we can be comfortable, that we're going to be happy, and we're going to have a really good time.
When you did make that decision, do you remember the exact moment and what you felt when you ultimately decided?
It was exciting. It was exciting. Definitely a lot of back and forth. But when we sit down with my family and start thinking and looking and seeing all the papers, I think we make the best decision.
Was it a stressful process, or was it one that you enjoyed?
Definitely it's going to be stressful. It's even if you're enjoying it, you're going to have a little bit of stress because you're talking about 15 years. It's a long time. And when we went back and forth, we have our stress times, our happy times, our sad times. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. But definitely, I think we made a good decision.
Juan, you saw
Great
this
decision,
Mets
Juan.
franchise
Great
up close and
decision.
personal often when you were with the Nationals. And one of the things that I
When you
think
were
your
flirting
signing
with us all that
signals to
time.
the rest of baseball is that things have changed here in Queens. What has your perception been over the years? How has that perception of this organization changed to allow you to feel comfortable committing to them for 15 years?
For me, just the way Steve described what he want to do, what he want to do in the future and what he wants to do with this franchise. I think it's one of the things that changed my mind about the Mets and what they've been doing and what they've been having and what they want to do with the future. I think it's one of the things that actually changed my mind and put me on the trail to be a Met.
What did he say? What do they want to do?
We keep it privately, but definitely he wants to win a lot, and that's one of the things I want to do. We wanted to win, and we want to try to bring as many champions as we can throughout these 15 years. So that's enough for me.
Well, when the money gets as high as it does get, and you have so many offers on the table, do things like the familial atmosphere that the Mets are selling, do those help make the decision a little easier in their favor? Is that something that mattered to you as much as maybe people are making it out on the outside?
I think when you sit down and look all the options that you have, it gets to a point where it's not about the money anymore. You know, we sit down, we have great teams pushing and trying to do stuff, but definitely you try to find the best spot for you and your family and to grow a family, and that's what it takes over. And what they show me is just it's all family lovely and the best thing for me.
Finally, Juan, you played last year with an MVP in Aaron Judge. You're now playing with an MVP candidate in Francisco Lindor. What does having two players of your caliber on the same team do for the individuals? How much do you find that you push one another to even higher heights?
I think it just comes in your DNA when you're trying to be better every day. And having a guy like Judge, it's just incredible. It's one of the best guys I ever played with. I think, if not the best, it's one of the best. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's capable of and how he handled himself and how we went back and forth. And now having the chance to do the same thing with Francisco, I think it's going to be special, you know, because he has a lot of stuff to say to tell me, and I have a lot of stuff to tell him to increase our game, to improve our game. And I think it's exciting. It's exciting to find every little things every day to get better and try to have your brother next to you, trying to cheer for you, to push you to be the best out of you.
Juan, I cannot thank you enough for a few minutes on a seminal day for the New York Mets franchise. Congratulations, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Gary, back to you.
All right, Steve, we thank you, Juan, as well. Back to you just a
we
little bit,
cannot
Steve.
thank
A
you
couple of things
enough
jumped out
for
at me from
making the
that
decision
discussion
to
right
come
there. One of
join the
big,
New York
he
Mets.
said, Juan Soto, that it was a
Absolutely.
stressful
Very
process. He said,
exciting,
anytime
very
you talk about
exciting.
15 years, a lot to think of there. But the
Listen,
thing that really changed his
again, like I was saying, you know, we try to dismiss it. We say it's just about the money. It's just about the money. But it's obvious. It's obvious that the culture that we're building here, led by Steve and Alex Cohen,
and it's been a long time since the Mets have won
continued by David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza,
contract to win numerous
and in the clubhouse by Francisco Lindor and the Brandon Nimmo's and those guys. That definitely played a role. That definitely played a role for him.
So there's no real limit to
was it the main thing? No, but it could have been.
Enthusiasm can grow.
Nudged it over, like, you
I
know,
that it worked
he
for
could have
Max
said, you know
Scherzer.
what?
Remember, I know that didn't work
I'll
out
take the 16 years
quite the
for
way
the
it was supposed
Yankees.
to, but
Why
that was such
not?
a huge get at the time,
Why
kind of
not?
first
You know?
statement, and that was the same
But
kind of
he
thing.
decided to
Was
take
selling
us,
a star
and
player
it's
who
great.
also
And
on a vision of where
you
this
know,
is
for
going.
people that were
Now
saying,
it's
"Oh,
a
there
little
was
bit
no
easier
doubt, there
to
was
believe
ever
that sales
any
pitch
doubt."
after
Listen, even
the Mets
Steve
went to the
Cohen had
NLCS
doubts.
last
It's
year.
another thing that stood out to me from his comments. Even he had
It's good that
doubts.
they're not tamping it up
We
too much.
read
You
it
don't
in the
want to do
stories that
LeBron
we've read
James
it
and
from
say,
Don
"Not one,
Heyman
that's
and
good enough for
everybody
you." Create
else.
all that pressure on
And
yourself.
now
But
we've
at the
seen
same time,
him
the
say it
Mets are not
himself.
hiding
He
the
went to
fact that
dinner
they do have
Sunday
those
night
kinds of ambitions
thinking
to
and telling
be
his friend that he
as
was with,
iconic and successful
this
a
is not
baseball
going to happen.
franchise as the Dodgers,
And
the
then he
Yankees,
received
what
that
have
phone
you.
call
The
that
Mets want to be
changed
right up
everything,
there,
you
and I'm
know?
sure that's what they sold Soto on. And
So much
Steve
so
Cohen
he felt the way that he did. And I mean, obviously, this was after that, but we now find out when we started hearing about second meetings and all of that stuff, and you have your reaction to that, that
he was asked. Steve asked him about playing with
the second meeting was at the request of Steve Cohen, because he also wanted to see, you know, what he was really committing to. 15 years, $700+ million is a huge commitment. You know what I'm saying? That's a huge commitment. And he said, you know, before, you know, it was more of a business meeting. He wanted more to get to know the person that he was going to, you know, make this, come into this contract with. As we now get David Stearns to speak to Steve Gelb. So let's get ready to bring that up. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you see me say that first, it's because I'm having it up on my TV as well as the computer so that I can share it with you. So the TV's a little bit ahead. So let's go to that now.
Of baseball operations, David Stearns. Steve, back to you.
Gary, this one I'm excited about because we've been together for the last few days and we've been unable to talk about this until it was official. So now it's official. And I can officially congratulate you, David Stearns, on reeling in maybe the biggest fish in Mets history. As someone who grew up a Mets fan who appreciates the history of this franchise, how would you put into context what this move means to the organization.
Well, he's a great player, and for our organization to be able to recruit and sign a great player says that we're in a pretty good spot in the industry. I also recognize that the Mets have had great players before, and great players have chosen to sign here or stay here. But to have a player of the caliber of Juan Soto, someone who's clearly on a Hall of Fame trajectory, makes our team better, considerably better. It's exciting for us.
Steve spoke about how this was a very in-the-dark negotiation. At times you felt great, at times you felt terrible. What was the experience like for you of trying to bring this thing home?
Yeah, that's often how negotiations go, is you don't have complete information as you're going through it. So you try to stick to your internal process, your internal step and negotiation plan. And I didn't know where this was going to go. I really didn't. I thought we were putting our best foot forward. I thought we were very aligned as an organization as to what we wanted to do here. And ultimately, we're very fortunate that he chose us.
When you got that call, were you surprised, or at that point did you anticipate it might be coming?
I think when we got the call on Sunday to really close this thing out, I was a little surprised. And then once we got that call, I think we had a pretty good idea where this was going.
So, we kind of talked around this week, but when you're committing on that level to someone, it's about more than the money or the player on the field. So whether it's in the conversations that you had with Juan or the conversations about Juan from people who knew him in the industry, what is it about his character that made you feel comfortable making him one of the centerpieces of the next decade and a half?
What we consistently heard about Juan is that he works incredibly hard, he cares about his teammates, and he cares about winning. And that fits with a lot of our leaders on this team. I think he's going to fit in very well. I think he's going to continue the efforts that a lot of our leadership group made this past year in terms of accountability, in terms of working together and pushing forward. And I think Juan's just going to add to that.
When you look at this team as a whole now, where do you still feel there need to be additions, and how much room do you have to continue to maneuver and add?
Look, I think we have the ability to add in a variety of places, really in every segment. I don't feel like there is a defined need in each segment, but we certainly have the ability and ways to make our team better, whether that's in the rotation, in the pen, in the position player grouping. And we're going to do that while balancing our desire to allow some of our younger players to still play. And that's something we talk about a lot. Something that Juan also believes is very important. Remember, he was 19 when the Nationals gave him a chance to play. And so we know the importance of youth and continuing to allow our young players to develop. And so we're going to balance that with also bringing in some established veterans.
David, congratulations. I know you have a lot going on today, but we appreciate a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right, Steve, we thank you so much. And, David,
I think that was big right there,
did.
ladies and gentlemen. I think that was
right
big.
That last question about
yes, you see, let's listen to what these guys say about that, because I also think this was huge right there.
This is a great day. This is a seminal day in the organization's history. The introduction of Juan Soto, Hall of Fame talent, 7 years in the big leagues, been All-Star 4 times, all the things that he's accomplished. You know, the numbers that put him up there with guys like Ted Williams over the first portion of his career, but there's more to do here, and I think David Stearns knows that. Yeah. Let's go back out to the ballpark right now. Steve is with the manager, Carlos Mendoza. Steve.
I remember everything. I want to react.
All right, thanks again, Gary. And, Carlos, it was about a year ago that we were here introducing you as the newest Mets manager. It's been a pretty solid 12 or so months for you at the helm, huh?
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I was walking in here, and it felt like, I felt like it was yesterday that I was walking in here for my press conference. And, like you said, a little over 12 months, here we are, celebrating, welcoming special player, special human. And, I think this is one of the greatest moments of this organization. Proud to be a Met, and, it's just exciting.
Have you been able to wrap your mind around it yet that as a manager, you're going to be able to pencil into your lineup every day Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto?
I think he just hit home with me when I met him not too long ago in person. The fact that we already have some really good players here, and Francisco Lindor being one of them. And on top of that, you get to add this type of player on Juan Soto, the caliber and what he brings to the table. it is an honor and a privilege, and I just pray for them to stay healthy.
So I know one of the things that was so important to you, was so important to David last year, was so important to Francisco and Nimmo, was to really establish a culture, an identity, an accountability in the clubhouse. And when you talk to Juan Soto, it's clear that, yes, the money was what it was, but he could have had that in a lot of places, and he chose the Mets in part because of what was being built. Does that give you any sort of extra level of pride that in just 1 year, it seems like you've been able to establish to people outside of the organization that this is a team that's going to be serious for years to come?
100%. And, got to give credit and be thankful for ownership, Steve and Alex, and then David, because that's what we want. We want people that are willing and wanting to come here, like you said, money's there from a lot of people, but it's just the family, the people, because we're bringing in a quality player, but we also bring in a quality person, quality family, and that's what you're looking for. In order for us to continue to be a first-class organization, we need to continue to do this. Really good players, really good people that are going to put this organization in a position to compete for championships.
All right, Carlos, 2 more, and then I'll let you go. I asked David this question. I asked Steve this question. So now I'll ask you. Seems to be a lot of people in the organization in the dark about which way Soto was going. When you get that call, hey, he chose the Mets, where were you, and what can you tell us about your reaction that live television would be okay with?
Yeah, look, I was a part of that first meeting. It seems like it was, 4 weeks ago. I don't know, right? But I didn't have the details of what was going on, And then until finally Sunday morning, I got a text from David telling me there's a lot of action on Soto. I was like, oh, wow. So we're still in it. And then I flew to Dallas for the winter meetings, and I was in my room, after dinner, watching TV when he came across my phone, because I didn't hear straight from David because he was flying. And then like 30 seconds later, I finally got a call, and I was just shocked, to be honest with you. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I was just thankful. I texted Steve and Alex right away. I texted David, obviously. What a great moment, what a great moment. And it feels like when you get a call where you're going to the big leagues, in my case, where you're getting to manage a big league team, like we're getting Juan Soto. This was right there with it.
Okay, so then I'll end on a baseball question, not so much an emotion question, but we all know that Juan Soto is an elite player. But from a managerial perspective, what is it about his skill set that excites you the most?
Look, this is a guy that wants to be in the lineup every day. And as a manager, having that type of player that wants to be there is a plus. Obviously, we all know what he brings to the offensive side of the game. This is a guy that grinds out a bat. He's fearless. He uses a whole field. He's one of the best hitters in the game, if not the best hitter. Controls the strike zone, hits for power, hits for average. His attention to details, his preparation, the way he sees the game is second to none. Talking to people that had him, nothing but great things to say about him. And he's a winner. This is a guy that is already coming here with a World Series ring, and that's what we want. So from the baseball side of things, we're getting a pretty special player.
All right, Carlos, great seeing you. As always, enjoy the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, guys, we thank you both there.
Yeah.
And the manager,
I wish I could play for
Juan
Carlos
Soto shows
Mendoza.
up
I
play just
swear,
about
I
every
wish
day.
I
Played
could play for this guy. I could listen to this guy speak all day,
in the
man.
regular
This
season.
guy's
The Yankees
inspirational.
here go ahead.
It's funny, right?
Just under
He said
1,000,
he was part of that
989.
first
I mean, the
meeting,
numbers
but
he
he didn't
puts
have
up
any
are
details. So it seems like
incredible. So why is
Carlos
Carlos
Mendoza's
Mendoza
son,
the right guy to manage Juan Soto?
Well, just like Carlos
more
Mendoza's former
connected
mentor,
into the
Aaron Boone,
details
these
of
are
the
guys that
negotiations
treat
than
the players
Carlos.
like adults,
I'm kidding,
let
guys,
players
I'm
be
kidding, I'm
players,
kidding.
and let the clubhouse
I'm
mostly
kidding.
self-police and let the
Put this
veterans
down a
run
little bit.
things.
I
I mean,
think the
really your
interviews
basic
should
leadership
probably be
tenets
done, right?
that
They've
you'd
spoken
want
to
from
everybody.
a good leader of
I was
people.
wondering if any of the
Carlos
players
Mendoza
would be
has
there, but obviously all those guys
clearly seen
are
from year
mostly
one
back
how he's on
wherever
his
they
way to
make
being a
their winter
special league
homes.
manager. He
I
is
doubt
already. So
any of them
he's
make
a
their
fit
winter
for
homes in
anybody.
New York. Oh,
He
Gary
came
Cohen's going
so
to come on,
coming
so we'll
from
listen to
one of the
Gary
best in
Cohen.
the game.
So, you know, but I was kind of hoping that maybe we'd see one or two players at the press conference to welcome our guy home, welcome our guy to New York City.
I would imagine
But
the guy who was standing by with Steve Gelbs right now is
let's
excited
see.
to call
Let's
games
listen to
with Juan
this.
Soto on the field. That's Gary Cohen. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good guess, Gary Apple.
Yes.
You know, Gary, you've been with this franchise, watching along since day one. Just your visceral reaction to seeing this day and Juan Soto signing a deal to become a New York Met.
You know, I was thinking about the conversation changers in Mets history, right? The times when the Mets took something and with one move made it bigger than it was. And the first one I remember was Keith Hernandez, right? Signing Keith, getting Keith in a trade in 83, and then even more so re-signing him that winter. That changed what had been a losing stretch in Mets history into something much different. The trade for Mike Piazza in 1998 took a good little team and turned it into a potential championship team. Those are really the only moves that resonate the same way. You know, the Carlos Beltran signing in 2005 was big. It was the biggest free agent the Mets has signed to date, and it took them to a different level. But this is something extraordinary. This is something completely different. A player this young, this talented, this already accomplished, a championship player who enhances a team that already went to the league championship series last year, and to have him through the prime years of his career, I think it's a complete game changer, and it's easily the biggest of all of those moves that I mentioned.
And I think when you mentioned conversation changer as well, game changer, certainly over the last 3 days when I was in Dallas, you could sense a conversation shift in the industry about the New York Mets. And I said this on the air the other night, but I think if the Mets would have come out and outbid everybody by $150 million, and that's clearly the reason that Juan Soto came, still great, but it's a different conversation than to have so many teams in the range and Soto sit down and say, no, this is the organization I'm putting my faith in. And so when you look at the last few years under Steve Cohen's ownership, and specifically last year with David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza, how much do you think the perception change has allowed for moments like this now to take place?
See, I think it started with Steve Cohen's ownership and the fact that he had the resources to compete, right? Because you can have as many systems in place as you want and as much of a family feel that Juan Soto got from talking to Steve and his family and engaging with them. But without the money, none of that happened. So I think we always knew that this was possible for the Mets to play in this ballpark and be perceived as a team that could compete and could treat their players better than other teams treat them, and all those factors that go into that. And I think little by little over the last 5 years, we've seen those systems start to be in place. And I think that Alex Cohen has had an enormous impact, and I think Steve mentioned that finally she's getting the recognition for some of the things that she's done to make players feel more comfortable here. But David Stearns has a lot to do with that too. I mean, I think that there's a lot of knowledge in the marketplace now. I think that agents and players understand that there are certain organizations that have a knack for threading the needle in making sure that they maximize their resources, not just in free agency, but in trades, in minor league free agent signings, and all the ways in which you can make your club better. And I thought in year one with David Stearns, we saw all of that. And Carlos Mendoza is a big piece too. I mean, he won that clubhouse from day one, and through the darkest of times, kept it and got it to the sixth game of the National League Championship Series in a year where it looked like none of that was going to happen. So I think that this changes the conversation for the fans and the people who maybe haven't been paying attention. But I think all those things have been in process for the last few years.
No, we have had the privilege doing this job, watching Juan Soto up close and personal a lot, especially when he was with the Nationals. And
Man, I think this is the longest interview
this season.
This is the longest interview.
Just
I got someone joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be joining you in just a second and see
about him as a player?
let's finish this
And
into Gary
how
Cohen here.
much
Thank
do
you
you
guys
think
for
those
joining
skill
us,
sets
though.
enhance what's already
Got a
happening?
little surprise for
Well,
y'all.
I mean, from day one that we saw Juan Soto, he had a presence in the batter's box that you don't expect a 19-year-old to have. I mean, he was in the big leagues at 19, and he had the selectivity of a much more veteran player, and that's only become better and better as he's gotten more mature and learned the league a little bit better. But that's what stood out from the beginning. This was a guy who brought hitting skills, but he brought discernment, and he was able to wait for his pitch in a way that I haven't really seen a slugger since Barry Bonds. That's what Barry Bonds was at his best, a guy who could take pitches a sliver out of the strike zone with impunity and take his walks and not worry about it. But then when he got a pitch in his zone, he attacked and he hit with damage. That's what Juan Soto's been since the start of his career. And I think the other piece about it is the fact that even when he was playing with some nationals teams that were not as competitive, he never gave away at bats. And, you know, the way he approached every at bat was the way we saw the Mets play over the last 4 months of the season. So I think that he's very much in that mold of a guy who is going to bring it every at bat. Now, you know, the pieces of his game are what the other pieces of his game are. He's not going to steal bases. He's not going to be a Gold Glove outfielder, but he's a good enough hitter that none of those things really matter.
Yeah, and I'm just really happy that you brought up Juan Soto when he was with the Nationals teams that weren't very good, because to me, and I think I said this during our hot stove shows as well, that was what always stood out to me, is after that team won a World Series and it was essentially stripped down to its studs, we'd watch Soto as a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid, and he was still so mature that he would not chase pitches just to make something happen. He'd take 3-4 walks a game, but then if you made one mistake, he was on it, and it was a double or a home run.
And, you know, what also impressed me was last year with the Yankees, because when the Mets played the Yankees, they weren't the Yankees that eventually made it to the World Series. They were a team that basically had two guys in their lineup. I mean, Luis Severino said it out loud, but we all knew that, right? They had Soto and Judge and nobody else, and it didn't change the quality of it as a bats. You could see that a star player in that circumstance would expand his strike zone, and we saw it some with Judge. We never saw it with Soto, and that, to me, was amazing, too. The discipline he was able to show.
Yo, salute, Heck. Can you hear me?
Jerry, great seeing you. We're going to have some fun this year.
Steve, very nice.
I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're on mute or not.
Oh my gosh, I've been on mute the whole time. I
Yeah,
forgot I was coughing.
been on mute. All good, though. All good.
I did this great introduction of you, and I've been on mute. Oh my gosh. Well, there it is. Here's my guy, CP, as I was saying. He's been kind enough to have me on his show. He's been very good. I haven't been able to return the favor. And I said, I don't consider this it. It's like a little bonus appearance that he's doing for us. But I appreciate you. And you guys know, worked with CP throughout the summer. Thanks to Rob who put that round table together. But how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. This is a special day. Obviously, we've all been watching this press conference, all the interviews, and all the Yankees fans in the chat that are coping with it. So it's awesome, man. I can't wait to. I mean, I love the offseason. The offseason's great. The content, the anticipation of who we're going to get next, trade for, sign, whatever. But you know, it's not going to compare to him walking out in Queens, his very first game, and especially the crowd, man. When he hits his first home run at City Field, this is a special day, man.
I've been thinking of that moment myself, CP. I you know, selfishly, you want it to happen on opening day right away, and I'm like, I can just imagine that first at bat opening day, and if he goes ahead and hits a home run, that place is gonna. I mean, it's gonna go insane. It's gonna be bananas. But I mean, like, your impressions when you saw him put that jersey on for the first time, like, because we knew it happened. We knew it happens on Sunday night, and of course it's not official, so they can't really talk about it, whatever. But it's out there, everybody knows. And then finally, yesterday, right, we got the official announcement. He's passed the physical, and he's a man. And we're like, okay, it's real now. It's real. There's nothing that can happen. There's no Carlos Correa situation or anything like that. But still, for me, it was like when I finally saw him put on that jersey, it was like, okay, there it is. There it is. What were your feelings when you saw that?
I agree. Relief, man. Relief was the first thing to cross my mind. And Just excitement, man. I mean, I get that, we've seen winning teams. We just went to the league championship series. We've signed big name free agents before, but it hasn't really, like, especially in the past like decade or so, right? For me, this is one of the bigger moments in terms of not only what he's going to provide on the field, because again, as soon as you see him put on that orange and blue, it's just like, all right, it's go time. But as soon as I saw him put on that jersey and I saw the smile and I saw what he had to say in terms of the Mets embracing him, and they went on to say, he went on to say what Cohen was talking about, the championships and how many he wants to bring over to Queens, whatever. This is really a snowball effect. And that's what is also, we take the production on the field, but it's a snowball effect in terms of changing the trajectory of New York, right? The Mets being a destination landing spot for future free agents. Not 40-year-old free agents in Verlander and Scherzer. I'm not talking about those kind of free agents. I'm talking about the cream of the crop, guys that are before their prime, but are clear paths for the Hall of Fame, like Soto is. So again, there's so many emotions, I feel like, for us Mets fans and other organizations. I feel like, the Dodgers, the Yankees of past are like, oh, this is no big deal, trying to diminish this. No, this is a big deal to us Mets fans. And you know what? They got to let us have our day because it's here.
No, this is a huge deal. I agree with you 1,000%. And that's one of the things that stood out to me, right? And obviously, the money was a huge deal. The money was a huge deal. But for him to also talk about the family, and he mentioned it a lot. I thought was huge. And the whole believing and wanting to be a part of the dynasty that Carlos Mendoza and the Cohens and David Stearns are trying to build. That was big to me. And we've wanted to be a destination. We've wanted to be a destination for all of these reasons. It may be corny, and obviously we know that the fact that Steve Cohen has all these billions is what affords us also the opportunity to sit at these tables, right? And we appreciate that so much. But the other things matter. Okay, as that's done, so we'll get that out of here. My bad. Oh, that happened smoothly. I was like, oh my God. Oh, this is to go all over the place. It's good that I have CP here. As you guys know, if you watch CP and Rob and all these guys are so professional, man. They have these beautiful layouts. They hold it now. They don't want to give me all the secrets. Nah. I've asked these guys. They've helped me out of it, but I just don't have the time to figure it all out, man. But the important thing is that we're here, man. But all of these things, and as I lose my train of thought for playing games, because there's something that so much stuff. So I try to write things down here, so I got it all over the place here. But one thing that David Stearns said, and that is ironic because I was thinking the same thing this morning, is we've had free agents before, right? We've signed big free agents before.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, Carlos Beltran, Johan Santana, even Pedro Martinez, who is, like you said, on the older, you want to go back, Gary Carter, Cespedes trade, whatever. But, we've had big guys before, but it's never been this. It's never been where you could say, oh, well, the Yankees wanted Carlos Beltran and he chose the Mets. Yeah, but that was a little different because the Yankees weren't willing to go all the way. Like, it wasn't even that much of a, what do you call it? Of a battle, because the Yankees were offering 1 year and the Mets offered 7 years. Like, they weren't even in the same ballpark. You understand what I'm saying? Had they been in the same ballpark and he said, I'm going to the Mets, it would have been a different story. But at least I've seen him say his preference was to go to the Yankees if it was even close. But no, here they wanted the player. As I said opening up, CP, they wanted the player just as much as we did. Their fan base did, their ownership did, their front office did, damn it, their players did. There's nobody in Major League Baseball that would not want Juan Soto to be a part of it. And they went out there and they tried to get the guy.
Yep.
And we were able to come out on top. This is why I say also, as much as this is Juan Soto Day, Juan Soto press conference day, introduction day, and all that, this is officially Steve Cohen's coming out party for real. Like, yo, I am here. Yeah, because we did it. You said it. Scherzer, Verlander. I mean, listen, nobody was going to give those guys that kind of payday at that age.
It doesn't hit the same, Hector. It doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, it was insane that we even did it. I mean, this is insane, but this is well worth it. This is well worth it, and this makes that statement that now we hope that other guys follow. Like, yeah, we want to be like, hey, listen, like we seen happen with the Dodgers, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I thought you were going somewhere else with that, but yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I wouldn't love if the Mets did, and mimicked what the Dodgers do, right? I mean, I think that with what they just did in delivering a championship, right? Finally, after so many years of being perennial contenders, and obviously we know the COVID championship they won, but winning in 2024 put every critic to bed, right, for that Dodgers organization. And now it's the Mets time, and this is just the start of that. What was funny for me, it was a couple of things that was actually interesting that I took from what Juan Soto said. One of them was actually which he didn't, he hasn't spoken to any of the guys on the Yankees. I'm sure you talked about that already as well. He hasn't talked to any of those guys since he made the decision. And again, there's probably no bad blood between him and that clubhouse, I'm sure, but that's just funny to hear. I'm sure Yankees fans had a field day with that one. But also, the whole Starling Marte situation, which kind of could get swept under the rug, but we've heard a recent report, about Marte's name being shopped. And I'll be talking about that on my channel in the next, probably today, honestly. I'll probably put out the video. But, what happens to a guy like Marte, who was heavily involved in recruiting Juan Soto, right? I mean, he said it himself, right? He talked to Marte this offseason and in many years past, and that's kind of what also helped him make this decision. And I just thought that was kind of ironic. But listen, man, that's a future worry. That's like a next week worry after this organization and this front office goes back to making deals. And a lot of people want to be worried about the pitching. And you know what? You got good reason to worry about the pitching. But if every report that we've heard is true, from Passan, from DeComo, from everybody else in between, from Steve Cohen himself, who openly admitted we have more holes to fill. You just heard it like 20 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll leave it to David Stearns. These guys are not naive to the fact of what this team needs. They're not. And you know what? I do think, I'm not sure if you want to get into offseason talk or not, but
we will. You've gone a few places that eventually I was going to ask you. Like, again, we haven't spoken about how long you had, and I don't even know how long I'm going to do this. But no, we could get into a little bit of everything. And again, thank you for your time. But yeah, no, go ahead, because you've touched on a few things that I think are key.
No, yeah, I mean, first and foremost is pitching, obviously, and the second thing is opening up that roster spot by moving Marte. Regardless of the relationship that he has with Juan Soto, I do think that the Mets would be a lot more flexible in terms of what Carlos Mendoza could put out and utilize, because quite simply, he has transitioned into a fourth or fifth outfielder due to his age. The power numbers have gone way down, and yes, he could be a platoon bat for the DH spot. But when I think about DHs, I'm not thinking of Starling Marte. And he mashes lefties, and that's all fine. But there's different ways to put out the best lineup you can. And I don't think Starling Marte's name is in that. But again, I do think in terms of the pitching aspect, because everyone is worried about pitching. I'm not sure if you tuned into the live stream that Rob and I did yesterday. Rob is, he's hitting the panic button a little bit, as I've seen a lot of Mets fans do, especially after Garrett Crochet went off the board. And it's natural. It's a natural feeling. I don't blame anybody if they feel that way, of course. But I do think that there's something else in terms of the trade market that this front office understands is going to open up around the league. Maybe some names that we haven't even heard of before, even beyond Luis Castillo, right? At this point. So I still think that there's a multitude of different avenues this team can go down. Garrett Crochet would have been awesome. It would have been an awesome start. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you said this on your channel. I've said this on my channel. Everybody basically who talks about the Mets, especially here on YouTube, has said this about this front office with what they were able to accomplish this past season. They've earned that trust. They've earned that trust for a reason. And so to sit here and panic on December 11th or 12th because the Mets didn't land Crochet, I'm not going to do it at the end of the day. So realizing that there are still holes to fill, Juan Soto is a great start, both offensively and obviously the holes that are, we have pitching wise, but beyond that, beyond the production on the field, I think we can both agree here, the offseason or what's to come aside, this was a necessary. It wasn't just like, okay, we got Juan Soto, if we didn't get him, okay. It was a necessary step to start the snowball of bigger free agents, or not bigger free agents. Juan Soto's as big as they're going to get in terms of, the magnitude, but other big name free agents coming over. And, I don't want to get into the logistics of Sasaki, but a lot of people now believe that if Juan Soto is here and the Mets are able to swing the international free agent money, you go up to Mr. Wolf, his agent, and you sell him on what the vision is and how he could be that guy if he develops into it. So yeah, man, I'm excited for what's to come. And again, if we're talking about this offseason, the Mets are far from done. I think that we've heard so many reports for it not to be true.
No, absolutely, man. Jeez, you hit so much, and now you're gonna have to stay on here a little while because you just went all over the place on me. but no, man. One of the first things that you touched on that almost slipped my mind was the fact that not only CP, not after he signed the contract didn't he speak to any Yankees, during the process,
right?
During the process, and when I saw that Aaron Judge said that he hadn't spoken to him, that he was giving him his space, I was like, ooh, big mistake. I even put a post saying if I was on any team trying to land Juan Soto, he would have to tell me, yo, enough. Leave me the hell alone. I'm going to let it be known, bro. I want you on my team. And I don't give a damn if we played all year. I'd be calling him every other day. Maybe not every day, every other day. A text, something like, yo, we're here. Don't forget, bro.
Right.
I want you here. Do you, but And you said it. He said it himself. He spoke to Starling Marte during the process. Not only during the process, but even throughout all of this time. And yeah, there is that. you put it. Listen, that was good. That's good blunt thoughts right there, man. That's a good job by you. But the whole situation, how does that affect what happens going forward? I mean, because we've thrown it around, and I've said, hey, I don't mind Starling Marte being that right-handed DH. Whether you want to bring Jesse Winker back, I don't know how you feel. No, I know how you feel because I've seen you do your video. Jock Peterson could be that option.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
an upgrade over Jesse Winker. I know. Winker provides that attitude that we all want and everything, but hey, listen, I need more of the production on the field than anything. And Winker was good, but if I could get an upgrade on that, I'll take it. And I'll take Winker back too, but whatever. But I think Marte could be part of that. I also think could Starling Marte be a part of a deal? Maybe not for like a frontline starter or anything like that, but maybe another starter, maybe a nice bullpen arm. Or maybe another position player. I don't know. You know what I mean? The same thing could be said of Jeff McNeil.
Yep.
But hey, CP, we're here talking about, and we just listen to them talk about family and culture and everything that they're trying to build. And a lot of that, which wasn't said, trust, right? There has to be trust in that too, which is why Steve Cohen asked for a second meeting, as he said, because I wanted to get to know the person more than the business person that I met the first time. I wanted to know more of him. So do maybe they take all of that into account when making a decision on Starling Marte and say, man, we really can't trade this guy. And we can still use him as a DH in the outfield, maybe once a week to spell like Juan Soto, to spell Brandon Nimmo by just, moving pieces around and stuff like that. I know we get frustrated with Starling Marte, but I think a healthy Starling Marte is a productive Starling Marte. And if maybe we can keep him off his feet a little bit, I think that could go a long way. And listen, we also know that Starling Marte likes to be on the field. So maybe he says, hey, you know what? I helped you guys get this guy and everything, but I'd rather go somewhere else because I'd rather play every day on the field. And if he does that, then you know what? Good riddance. Vete pa' allá, how we would say. Get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's how you feel. If you don't want to be a part of this, you know what I mean? But I don't know. That's a good point by you. I wonder how that's gonna work out, and if that would, and at the end of the day, David Stearns he needs to separate the fandom from the business, right? We're always going to have a little bit of emotions tied to it. So that's why I think about that. Maybe other fans may think about that, and he may think about it too. But then he has to separate and say, no, the best move is to move on from Starling Marte. Oh no, we could keep him here. And I'm totally with you on the bullpen and all that. You're damn right. I've been saying it. I mean, just on the pitching in general. Yes. Are we always going to hit a home run like we did last year with a Sean Manaea and a Luis Severino? Are all the projects going to work out that way? Absolutely not. But I think it's going to be over 50% that it is. You know what I'm saying? Because we seen David Stearns in his prior spot, and now here in 1 year, we've seen, as critical as we are of Jeremy Hefner, I think we need to start giving him his flowers, right? We've seen him be able to do things, and now the combination of those guys and then bringing in, which depends on how you look at it, but then bringing in the guy from the Yankees, I forget his name. The guy that they bring in from the Yankees.
Desi Driscoll.
Yes, that guy. All of those things combined, you said it. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt, CP. Until they show me otherwise, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not pressing the panic button. All I keep saying is pieces are going off the board. Is it a lot of pieces? No. But a lot of the, pieces that you may want to dabble with are going off the board. You want to tell me the main piece is still out there in Corbin Burns? Fine. So all I keep saying is go out there and identify who you want and just go get them already. Stop letting these prices rise, because every time somebody signs, the prices go up. You're going to bring Sean Manaea back? Go out there and bring him back already. Go out there and bring him back already, I heard Scarborough say earlier, there's times that he has free agents and ownership will come and straight up and tell him what's the what did he call it? What's the take him off the board price or whatever. So meaning like we don't want to bid. When something's at bid, you can actually buy it without going into a bid. What's that price? And we'll give it to you right now. And he told teams, well, with Juan Soto, there's no such thing. Well, go out there and ask him, because I believe with Sean Manaea, there may be take him off the board price. Go out there and find out. I don't know how you feel about this, CP. Maybe I should, because I'm sure we've spoken about this. I'm in line with what I think is David Stearns' philosophy of not going long term with pitchers, not going those 6, 7, 8 years, damn it, even 5 years. Unless you're like super young, 30 years old, I'm good on that. 5 years tops. I think we all can assume that Corbin Burns is going to surpass that, right? He's probably going to be in the Max Fried ballpark of the, 8 years, $218 million or whatever the hell it was, But what is your thoughts on that philosophy of pitching? Because I don't mind. So that's what I'm saying. You don't want to go long term? Okay. Still, even on the short term, sometimes you're going to have to extend more than you would like. Why not do it with someone whom we know, right? Whom you've had success, and as well as he did some stuff on his own, and Sean Manaea with the whole Chris Sale thing. He did that on his own. But you also had success with your practices, right? With this guy. Do you not believe enough either in him or your processes to be able to continue that and continue some growth with this guy so that you say, you know what? Okay, ideally, a guy like Sean Manaea, I'd like to give him 3 years, but it's going to take 4 years. What the hell? I'll give him the 4th year because at least I know this project and I'm willing to continue to work with this project. I know I said a lot there to ask you about the pitching philosophy, but yeah.
No, yeah. So I've said this a lot where the Mets can go different routes, and one of those routes is building a rotation. A lot of people aren't going to like this, but by committee, right? When you bring in arms, you're not going to have a premier starter, top of the line starter, but you're going to have a lot of solid arms. I'm talking about you bring in a guy like Sean Manaea, but you can't stop there. If that's the philosophy, you got to go ahead and bring in a guy like Walker Buehler, right? Or any other mid-tier pitcher on the free agent market to add to a Frankie Montas, to add to Clay Holmes potentially cracking your rotation. That's one philosophy, and that's one way to go about it. while doing that, you still open the door to try to trade for a guy that has upside that could potentially be one of those guys. I take a look at 2 trade candidates that I've touched on. One of these guys in one of my videos, and the other one with the newer report I haven't touched on, but I see Darren and my guy Darren in the chat is touching on in Jared Jones, Jared Jones, I believe his name is. And also Jesus Luzardo, right, from the Marlins. So I think those 2 guys are young. I mean, Jared is 22 years old, going on 23. He's got controllability. Luzardo got injury history, but he's 26, going on 27. You know, in 2023, we saw what he was all about, and he could be one of those guys right alongside Kodai Senga that could complement also Sean Manaea and stretch him out to be like a 3, an SP3. That's one way you can go about it. But I think a lot of fans get caught up. And you know what? I won't argue this philosophy as well, because honestly, if the Mets went out and prioritized, I know we haven't heard any reports about it, but if they went out and prioritized Corbin Burnes, I am never going to complain about that. I understand that there is concerns about giving him a 7 to 8 year deal, given the strikeout rate going down. I mean, the other numbers have been phenomenal, right? I mean, it's the strikeout rate that everybody's concerned about going down over the past 4 seasons, right? And I understand that. But if you go get Juan Soto, you're going to have him in the prime of his career. You've got Francisco Lindor. That's already in the prime of his career. You re-signed Pete Alonso, and that's something else we can talk about, right? About what's Pete's next move. He will be in the prime of his career. Brandon Nimmo's in the prime of his career. So you're working with that 4 to 5 year window until Juan Soto has that opt-out and the rest of the guys become 34, 35 years old. So if that's the case, right? I mean, you'd primarily be concerned with the first 4 to 5 years of a Corbin Burnes contract and the hell with the last 3. You know what I mean? And so that is not up David Stearns' alley, and I completely understand that. That is not who he is. But also we have to be mindful of, as we talked about with the Juan Soto situation, who's running this ship? Is it a tandem? Is it 85-15? Is it, 65-35? And so on and so forth. So again, 2 different philosophies. One, to go get the true ace to put before Kodai Senga. Listen, if the Mets were able to go into the 2025 season with Kodai Senga as an SP2 in the rotation, let's rock. I like my chances, especially come playoff time. I like my chances. But there's another way to win. I'm very confident in that, where you can have a bunch of flexible arms. And that's the key word, flexible. That's what Walker Buehler is. If you go and prioritize him, I saw some smoke about the Boston Red Sox prioritizing Buehler next. That's what Clay Holmes is, or that's what they want him to be by trying him out in the rotation. You know what I mean? Guys that can do both. Jose Butto, we already have a flexible guy. He can go in the bullpen or the rotation. So it really is, fans have their preference, and I see where David Stearns is going. I think you can be successful by doing both. But in order to be successful with that flexibility option, you need a good bullpen. Like, you need to prioritize the bullpen, and you need guys that can give you length. You need a long man, and you need multiple guys that can act as dominant, shutout, 7, 8, 9 inning guys, right? In those innings. Once you get a lead, boom, it's over. No matter how you get to the 7th inning, as soon as you get to the 7th inning with a lead, it's over. At a high rate, at least, because there's going to be blown saves eventually. So it's really hard for me to come on here and talk about the outlook and what the Mets could be trying to do, because like I said, I feel very confident that there are multiple names around the league that we haven't even heard of yet that are going to become available. And that's what the Mets are sniffing out right now. They're taking a big risk while doing it. But again, if we're going to trust these guys, we're going to trust these guys. And to answer your question on Sean Manaea, I've always said if you need to tack on the 4th year, do it. What did Fried just get? $27.5 million a year over 8 years. I mean, if it's a shorter term deal, I'm not sure if the AAV goes up or stays right around 25 for Sean Manaea, 4 for 100, I think should get it done. But you have to think, with the market being the way it is for these starting pitchers, with other teams still needing those mid-tier guys, and I will say that I don't think Manaea is an ace. I think we can all agree on that. He's an SP2, SP3 in a good rotation, right? Is there a team that's willing to tack on a 5th year for him? That's what my mind goes to. And it'd be a desperate move. But some of these teams do seem like they're a little bit desperate. I'm not going to lie to you. So, again, Hector, I think the common consensus here is that we don't need to panic. I think the Mets are going to fill out their rotation just fine. I really do. Whether it's Luzardo, Jones, I see Alcantara. I don't know if they're going to trade him. Again, that's still a little bit risky.
Easy's favorite guy. One of your number one fans.
Who?
Easy. He's always bringing up Alcantara.
Alcantara,
like,
yeah. No, he's good, but like again, he hasn't pitched in a very long time. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. But I'm not questioning what we've seen out of him before. And that's the thing about these pitchers, man, is what I've realized. I mean, this applies to Luzardo. This applies to even Jones, right? This applies to Alcantara, Crochet. It applies to, like, these guys get injured. There's concerns, an injury concern more often than not with a lot of these guys. And that's something that it's just a calculated risk. And the playing field is even with all teams in that manner. Even Fried going to the Yankees on an 8-year deal. I mean, he's had arm issues in the past too. Elbow, forearm, the whole lot. So eventually, though, Hector, this is what I'll leave you with in terms of the rotation talk, is that I think David Stearns, with the way that the market is shaping up, is going to have to overpay for one pitcher or another. I don't think that there's a world that he can escape this market without overpaying for somebody. And I think that's what a lot of people, they'll continue to write pitchers off. Manaea, he wants $100 million. No, not in Stearns' philosophy. Burns wants $250, not in Stearns' philosophy. Like, we can keep making excuses not to get any pitcher, right? We can point out a reason why we shouldn't have gone Crochet, right? Or why we shouldn't go after Castillo after he had a little bit of a down 2024 to his own standards and what he's produced in his entire career so far. But if we keep making excuses, we're not getting anybody. So David Stearns and Mets fans are going to have to settle on something. And that's the fact of the matter. No, absolutely. And like I said, you're going to have to decide. And I guess it's what do you want to overpay on? And to me, like I always say, the money, it is what it is. Yeah, does it make it maybe a little bit harder for me as far as going to games and stuff like that eventually? Yeah. That's a choice that I'll have to make. But they also have to make a choice. So what do you want to overpay on? Do you want to overpay on years in a Corbin Burns and money? Or do you want to, on the high end of overpaying on years? Or do you want to overpay on years in the lower end with a Sean Manaea and maybe a little bit of money? What do you want to do? But you're going to have to go out there and get what maybe we as fans see as more of a short thing. And you're right. It's not like Sean Manaea is an ace by any means, And obviously, I got to meet him, so I have a little bit of an emotional tie to him. And just because he's a former Met, he's a Met. I feel like he's a Met. But now, as you said, is there a team that's out there that's willing to go that 5th year? And if they are, then we're talking about choices now. Sean Manaea, you said there's no other set of boys you'd rather do it with, right? Now you have a choice. And this is what we're hoping, right? Because, yes, we're able to give players, for the most part, more money than anybody else. We should be able to make any commitment we want to and blow anybody away. Excuse me. But every now and then, we want to be able to have, I don't know, just because it pops in my head, a Teoscar Hernandez situation where he went for 1 year to the Dodgers. And he hasn't re-signed yet, but everybody expects him to go back because he wants to go back. And he may take even less. He was willing to take the 1 year to go be a part of that. And he may be willing to take a little bit less in years and money to stay to be a part of that. So, Sean Manaea, do you want to be a part of this and take 4 years instead of 5? I don't know. Is that too much to ask? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm a Mets fan. And I always say this. I don't know if you heard me say this before. These players come and go. We root for them. We go in attachment to them. As long as you wear these colors. Correct.
Once you stop wearing these colors, I might root for you depending on how the divorce is. wherever the hell else you go. But I don't really care much for you. You know what I'm saying? It's about
Right.
the METS, because even Juan Soto, if I'm fortunate enough and you're a lot younger than me, we're going to see him live out that whole contract, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Jose Reyes play his whole damn career. You know, David Wright, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter. Those guys are around my age.
Yeah.
You know, and now they're gone and they're doing their thing. Yeah, they're lifetime Yankees, lifetime Mets, but they can't get another hit for me. The guys that are former Mets. You know? So it's always about the guy that's wearing the uniform at the current time. Couple of things here before we get out of here. And shout out to you again, and shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys. We got over 450 plus people in here. I'm sure a lot of them joined once I shared that you was with me. But
yeah, I'm sure. Come on now. Don't do that to me, Heck. This is all you. Great content.
Listen, man, you the man, brother. You the man. What do you feel about Sasaki, man? Because I got a little excited, CP. I'm not gonna lie. I got excited yesterday when I saw the stuff about Jeremy Hefner and the fact that they like Jeremy Hefner. And then I only saw the report one time. I don't know if I saw it or if I heard it, so I don't know how true it is. You can confirm or debunk it. That I believe his agent is also Kodai Senga's agent and Jeremy Hefner's agent, if that's even possible. So that was another connection. All of those things got me a little bit excited. We saw David Stern talk about they already put in their presentation, one of the few teams that have. And of course, Sasaki will decide who he wants to have meetings with and all that good stuff. But what's your feelings on that? I'm hoping we land the guy because, hey, man, I think everybody agrees that would be the steal of the offseason. And I know there's question because I think we already have almost all of our allotted money committed verbally to a few guys. What is it? Elian Pena, I forget his name.
Pena.
Elian Pena. But I listen, I was thinking about this yesterday, and maybe that gives you a black eye with some guys going forward. But I believe that kid is 17 years old.
Yep.
That's more of a long-term project than anything. Roki Sasaki's already played professional baseball. This guy can help us right now. So we have to take some of that money from that we've committed to Elian Pena and give it to Sasaki to get him to land here. I'd rather do that, and I'd take that little hit and whatever bad PR that get. And listen, maybe we can get him to agree to a little bit less than the $5 million. I think everybody said they've committed like $5 million to him, and we have
it's $5 million. It's $5 million.
Yeah, we have like $6 million, and then there's other commitments too. So, you know, maybe you have a little bit more details. I've been looking at that stuff, but I forget. There's so much information that it's like,
yeah.
But what's your feeling on Sasaki? Because I felt good when give me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, though, I mean, you could also lose out on Pena and Sasaki if you go down that route too. So that's probably the worst case scenario that should go down.
Damn,
you know what I mean?
right.
And so that's why I'm not sure. I'm not sure or not. Again, it could go 50-50 if the Mets take that calculated risk in terms of, you know, withdrawing that agreement and then also pursuing Sasaki, and you don't get him, and then you don't get Pena either. So, you know, I don't know because I'm not really in tune with a whole bunch of IFA stuff, but you know, yeah, there was comments, you know, from Sasaki's agent regarding Hefner in particular about the Mets' ability, especially over the past couple of seasons, to transform some guys' career. You know, and this isn't even boiled down to Sasaki, like Montas. And I understand Montas is Frankie Montas and he's a project and whatever. I mean, he posted north of a 4 ERA. I understand that. But the Mets obviously believed in him for a reason. I think you're on the stream when I told you what David Stearns said about Frankie Montas, that he possesses some of the best stuff that we've seen in the game, despite what the end result has been over the past few seasons or in his career so far. So, and that was a testament to the conversation that he had with Luis Severino and Sean Manaea, saying that these guys have everything, every tool that you would want to go take a chance on and reviving your career in hopes for another payday, another big payday. That's the team that's going to put you in the best position above any other team that you're talking to. And if you're able to drive that point home forward to Sasaki, yeah, I'm not ruling out the possibility of him coming to the Mets. That'd be awesome. to quote unquote take him right underneath the Dodgers, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
all
We
for
already
that.
we took someone that the Yankees wanted and had, and now if we could take someone that everyone assumes is going to the Dodgers, and maybe some people say maybe the Padres, but that everybody assumes is going to the Dodgers. Man, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point by you.
Yeah,
that would be another like statement right now. Like, yo, we're not only going to get the guys that we could offer the most money to, obviously, but we're going to get the guys that we also have to sell our pitch lab, our processes, and everything else, our development. And I'm hoping. I don't know if you know any info on this, but we've heard that he may or may not have a relationship with Yu Darvish, and obviously who probably doesn't admire Otani out there in Japan or whatever the case may be, and maybe a relationship with Yamamoto. I think he played with Yamamoto in the WBC and Otani too, right? Obviously,
right.
But I wonder, can we use Kodai Senga? Could we use Kodai Senga, who shares an agent, and he could be a recruiter too? And share with him like Severino and Shamanaya did with Funky Montas. Shout out to those guys. That's another great thing, man. As much as I've said it, you've heard me say it, Jose Iglesias is a great salesman of the New York Mets. He's not even a big part. He's not even a Met right now.
No, he's not.
And he's selling the Mets. Shamanaya and Luis Severino had to know that he was selling his replacement on the Mets.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was selling the Mets to his replacement. Like, yo, yes, this is a place for you. And he went. That speaks volumes about what we're doing. So maybe Kodai Senga could do the same thing with a Sasaki.
I was just gonna say that because again, you'd have to, you'd hope the front office goes to Kodai Senga and says, "Listen, we know we brought you in here a few seasons ago to potentially be that guy, but we need this guy, and he's going to be that guy, and you need to tell him that he's going to be that guy over you." You know what I mean? Something of that nature, not
right.
Word for word, with that, but if Sasaki, and that's the question. Does Sasaki want to be the guy in the major market? Because we also heard his agent say that a smaller market would be a softer landing spot for him, for whatever reasons you want to throw out there, they want to throw out there, which is, I really think that the playing field is even for any team in this league. I mean, really, because there's not, I'm sure he's going to want top IFA money. That's not a question, but I would be inclined to think that a lot of teams do have that pool of money to spend. So it's just about selling the organization, selling the environment, etc. If Sasaki wants to be that guy, and you and I both want guys that want to be that guy, right? This is why Juan Soto is monumental. Other than the fact that he provides you the statistics, he wanted to be that guy. He liked everything that he had with Aaron Judge. But again, he's going to be the guy. No disrespect to Francisco Lindor, right? Lindor is going to set the tone for the lineup, and we know what he's going to provide. But Soto, in terms of the pure offense, because Lindor is the captain, no one's taking that away from him, obviously. In terms of being
even the clear-cut leader of the team, but I know what you mean. Juan Soto's that guy that other fan bases, that other coaching staffs are going to say, we can't let this guy beat us. And then we can't let Lindor beat us, and Mark Vientos, and hopefully a Pete Alonso. When you go down the line.
Exactly.
But we can't let Juan Soto beat us.
And so
yes.
And so that indicated to me, right? As soon as he picked the Mets, that's the biggest indicator to me, because he could have went back to the Yankees, right? He could have had Aaron Judge right behind him. He could have flourished. I don't think he's going to hit 40 plus home runs. He did that because someone was batting behind him and Aaron Judge, and he had the smaller dimensions. I think the home run total is going to dip, but he's still 30 plus, but I'm not sure about 40 plus. Anyways, that's besides the point. He wanted to be that guy. If Sasaki wants to be that guy, he's got it in New York in a Mets uniform. He does not have that in many other places, right? Depending on what happens with the Padres organization, he's not going to have it there. The Dodgers organization, he's definitely not going to have it there, right? And so when you talk about big market teams, right, would be the perfect fit. Now, I'm not sure what the relationship of Kodai Senga is with Sasaki. That's something that I can't speak to. I have no idea. But I'm sure the Mets are going to play that card, man. I'm sure they're going to have Senga sitting in on some meetings. You know what I mean? and things of that nature. But
or even part of the presentation that they made already, because you don't know if you're going to get a meeting, right?
Correct.
So you gotta play that card right away.
So you know what was an interesting part about the Sasaki sweepstakes is that his agent, and again, I'm not in tune with the whole IFA process and the dates and the key dates or whatever, but there was some talk about him not being able to sign until January 15th, but his agent actually debunked that and said, we can sign whenever we want. As soon as he was posted, we can sign. We're just probably going to extend the process into January ourselves to make sure we're doing our due diligence. And I was shocked a little bit because I was led to believe that it was January 15th.
Well, because I think everybody just makes the assumption of that because that's when more teams will have more money, right? For example, a team like the Mets gets their fresh allotment of money.
Allotment of money, correct. Yes.
January 15th is the day. And that's why a lot of people also thought that he wouldn't be posted until January 15th. But I kept saying, no, they keep telling you, I think the cutoff date was like December 9th or something like that or whatever. But he has 45 days from the day that he was posted to sign with a team. So obviously now it's not going to be able to go much past January 15th because the clock has already started. So you have maybe, I think it's 10 days after the 15th to make a decision. But yeah, that was a little eye-opening when he said we could sign right away. But I don't think that'll happen because unless okay, we don't care that the Mets have to wait till the 15th because we're not going there. We don't care. And then the team that he decides doesn't need to wait, then I guess they will go ahead and sign. But yeah, it's going to be an extensive process, anyways. Now, as like you were saying, does he want to be the man? I don't think he wants to be that guy, right? His agent said he's more of a low-key guy, doesn't like guys that draw attention to themselves, doesn't like this, doesn't like that. He even said to the point where people said, is he maybe better suited? I think he said he might be better suited for a small market, mid-market to small market team, but he still thinks he could handle the big market. So I think there's different ways to look at it, right? Obviously, don't show him any clips where we're booing Lindor, but show him clips where we're singing along to My Girl and show him that kind of atmosphere. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then now you can sell him on, listen, this team has a Juan Soto. This team has a Francisco Lindor. This team has, X, Y, and Z. All of these guys are going to draw the attention. You're not, and I guess you got to be careful with this, right? Because it depends on what he wants. But from what we're hearing, you don't even have to be the number one Japanese guy because we have Kodai Senga. All you got to do is come here and do your thing. You know what I mean? And just be a part of this. That may be a good way to settle it. But I'm excited. I'm hopeful that maybe we can land the guy. And listen, who the hell knows? All you could do is watch highlights and read scouting reports and stuff like that. But everything you hear is that this guy is going to be a player.
I just saw a highlight of him painting the outside corner right on the black there of the plate. It's just like 100 miles per hour. Boom. Nobody's touching that. Perfectly placed. I mean, just zipped it right into the catcher's mitt. And it's just like, that's what we're working with here. I mean, his off-speed pitches are great too, but he has the ability to throw 100 up to 102 we've seen on the radar gun. I mean, he's electric, but I'm not going to lie. I mean, Mets fans that are holding out hope for it, I will say, objectively speaking, I still think it's a long shot. I'll still stick by that statement, but I think the opportunity opens itself up more now. I will say that.
No, and you're right. I think it's a long shot, and I think Cindy kind of nails that sentiment right here, where she says, "I was 100% confident that we wouldn't be able to sign Sasaki." I can't read English. After everything came out, I am 75% confident we don't. So she's got maybe a little bit of hope, but still, she's right there with you. There's still a part of me that thinks we can. It's up to him, really. And yeah, it's always up to these guys. We just hope that we have enough of a influence or whatever, to make them make their minds to come join us. There was, what? Let me ask you this before we touch on Pete and we get out of here. And again, thank you for your time, brother. But I also got to get out of here myself. And damn, it's been like an hour and 45 minutes. When we talk about the pitching staff and you talk about possibilities, and obviously you mentioned it earlier, I didn't get to touch on it too much, but we know everybody had their eyes on Gary Crochet. I don't get into too much whether this team overpaid, they didn't overpay, whatever. Like at the end of the day, they got what they felt is the package that satisfied them. There's different ways to look at it. Could it be, I heard reports today that we didn't want to include, I think it was Jet Williams, and I forgot who else in the deal. Oh, Brandon Sproat, which is like, ooh, wait, yeah, we don't want to do that. Jesus. Or was it that those guys we didn't have what appealed to them? We didn't have enough. And, it depends. And I always say this, we are going to always overvalue our prospects and all of that stuff. Listen, people don't want to trade guys for nobody. So Gary Crochet is out of the question.
Yep.
You could talk about the Luis Castillos, who's been a name thrown out there for a while now. I said Dylan Cease being thrown out there from the Padres. Darren here says Padres looking to shed payroll. He mentions a couple of guys that could possibly be on the trade block. But I had written down Dylan Cease because I saw him in a thing, not because I thought of it. But another name that we've heard thrown around, Framber Valdez.
Oh, yeah.
From the Astros. What is your thoughts on those guys, or maybe any of these guys that Darren brought up here as far as trades? And let me ask you this first. If Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat were the guys that these, the White Sox were asking for, would you have been okay with that?
I think we would have had to live with it. I would have been okay with it. I would have been okay with it. I will say that. I can't be a hypocrite in terms of, what I've said in the past about not willing to part with prospects. And I think Rob's shared the same sentiment. But basically, that would have been, again, the Mets. I think the deal, the difference was, yes, of course, the Mets didn't want to part with Brandon Sproat or Jet Williams in the deal. That would have been the equivalent of their front two that they gave up, essentially, when you take a look at the MLB top 100 pipeline list, right? But it was the back end of that deal that they got as well that the Mets simply could not also just keep up with, because the top of, your top line prospects, top 5, top 10 is whatever, it's the 11 through 15, 16, those guys that the Boston Red Sox, they got it. They have it, and the Mets don't yet. 11 onward for the Mets is still a little bit subpar, objectively speaking, from what I've heard. So I will say, though, that the other aspect is I know that Crochet is 25 going on 26. There's still uncertainty with him. So if you're wanting to build something, right, like the Braves had when they had Spencer Strider coming up and they had homegrown guys coming up, you're going to keep a Brandon Sproat. But this is what I'll put, right? I don't blame the Mets for not doing it because of Brandon Sproat. Any other prospect can go. That's what I'll say. Brandon Sproat stays, everybody else goes. And without Brandon Sproat, that deal does not happen. So that's my take on that. And that was the league-wide assumption through any team that was in on the Garrett Crochet, is that as soon as the Red Sox made their presence known, as soon as they entered that conversation, Crochet was theirs. That's it. That's how good their farm system is. So I think it was wise for the Mets to pivot. Now, again, Valdez, if the Yankees or the Astros, end up trading Kyle Tucker, and Yankees fans, he's not going to the Yankees, trust me, that's a pipe dream, because the Yankees, we're talking about farm systems here. The Yankees don't have anything to offer, man. The Yankees don't have anything to offer. Even Luis Gil, if the Yankees were to include him in that deal, that's not getting it done. Kyle Tucker's going to make upwards of $450. With what Juan Soto just got, perhaps even $500 million when he becomes a free agent. That's what all these execs are talking about right now. So I think that's the first domino to fall. And then we'll see what Bregman does for the Astros, right? We'll see what Bregman does. If one of those guys aren't on the Astros this season, let alone both of those guys, I think Valdez will be on the trade block. And at that point, that's your number one. Any of these guys, though, we're talking about, right? Cease, Castillo, Valdez. I have my preference, right? I'd probably go, if I had to choose, I'd go Valdez, Castillo, Cease in that order. But any three of those guys would be your number one ahead of Kodai Senga, right? And so that's the most, and again, they're not going to cost presumably as much as Garrett Crochet because of the age factor and controllability with Crochet. At least that's what I think. Cease is a rental. Castillo's, you're gonna have to eat the contract. And Valdez, I'm not sure if he's under contract or not. But again, I don't think that the trade package would be as much. I could be mistaken. I had to take a look at Spotrac. But yeah, man, in a short way to answer your question, if the Astros make Valdez available, that's the first team I call up above anybody else. And then as it relates to the Crochet trade, I'm sure the Mets did everything they possibly could. I don't think it was a matter of David Stearns not wanting to include Jet Williams, because I think position player wise in this farm system, the Mets are comfortable, and I would be comfortable with the Mets parting ways with anybody. But this is the one thing that the Mets have struggled with for at least the last, 6 years or so, maybe 7, is developing their own pitching, right? That's in that time frame, we have struggled. That's why we needed to rely on a Verlander. That's why we needed to rely on a Scherzer. I think the organization, there's a lot of different ways to win now while also accumulating that pitching talent in the farm system, which the Mets are severely lacking in right now. Talk about Tidwell, Sproat, obviously, Jonah Tong, and then, unless I'm forgetting somebody, right, with how many names I'm throwing out there on this stream right now, it's pretty limited, is what I'll say. So, does that kind of answer your question? Because again, I think that Crochet, as soon as the Red Sox were in, the Mets and David Stearns were probably calling the next team at that point.
No. Shout out to Cindy, who's a great view of all the content that we put out here. Said CP said it yesterday. I think we both have agreed. If our direct competition is the Red Sox for trades and they are looking at prospects, it would be tough to beat them. So she pretty much emphasized what you said here and said yesterday. And I'm in line with you. Yeah. Out of those guys, Valdez would be the guy. And to answer your question, he's, I guess, in his last year of arbitration.
Okay.
And it says here he signed the 1 year, $18.8 million contract.
That's probably what they settled on this year. Yeah.
This season coming up.
Wait, how old is he?
Let's see. Do they have this here on Spotrac? He is 31 years old.
Okay. So again, he's not a 25-year-old, right? That's still yet to enter the prime of their career like Crochet. So I would assume with the lack of controllability and with the age factor, and probably, again, you're going to need to extend him. The same thing with Cease, because he's also in his final year of his deal. It's not going to take as much as Crochet.
Yep. So, we'll see how that plays out. And there's plenty of time, man. That's another thing. And I said it like, we know how the baseball all season has been lately. It takes its time. It's slow, whatever. But at the same time, at least it keeps baseball in the conversation, right? It keeps baseball in the conversation as opposed to everybody signed right away. Then what the hell are we be talking about right now? You talk about the Giants and Jets. Give me a damn break. You want to talk about the Knicks getting their ass kicked by the freaking Hawks again?
I know you were at that game. I was tough to watch.
I was like, what the hell am I doing? I really decided to make this my first game. But I was afforded a great opportunity. I said, why not? Let me take advantage and go to this game. But no, this keeps baseball in the conversation. And obviously the last few seasons they've had the big name too that everybody's paying attention to and everybody wants to know where he's going. Otani and Yamamoto last year, this year Soto. So that helps out a lot too. But no, man, I think there's plenty of time, and I think the dominant thought here should be, I think I can speak for CP because he said it already a couple of times. We trust David Stearns and his front office to put their best foot forward and to give it their best and try to bring in guys that they feel will help us get the job done. But as we get ready to close here, CP, let's touch on this real quick. We kind of touched on Shamanaya. I want Shamanaya back for on the field and off the field reasons. Not because, listen, it's not, we made any friendship or anything like that, or we'll see him again. That'll never happen again. But I have a little bit of an emotional attachment to him, whatever. But the other guy is Pete Alonso. Right, and let me see what I put here, right? Because this was my train of thought earlier today, and I had it up here as maybe a topic that I wanted to bring up, but it's how I wanted to bring it up. So I want to see how I wrote it because I want to make sure, right? What the hell is it? And it's this. are the Mets ready to move on from Pete Alonso, right? And why? What do you mean, Hector? What do you mean? And I say that because the thought has been, right, CP, that, oh, well, Pete Alonso went and got Scott Boras. He just wants to get his money and only cares about money. And now here lately you've heard, oh, maybe Pete Alonso feels a certain way about the Mets. And da-da-da-da. He's done with the Mets and he just wants to go somewhere else and all of that good stuff. But I'm thinking, okay, but what if it's the Mets? Because we've also heard David Stearns and the type of player that he likes and his emphasis on defense and on base percentage and all and so on and so forth. Could it be that the Mets are more willing to move on from Pete Alonso than it being that Pete Alonso may not be willing to return? And obviously we hear David Stearns say, no, we love Pete Alonso. We want Pete Alonso to be back. We know they made a contract offer. Was it last year or the year before? I even forget already. No, not last season. And the season before in 2023 and all of that good stuff. But I don't know. What's your feel of this whole situation?
For anybody that is new to, how I speak about the Mets on my channel, all the videos that I post, I said this even before. I said this probably a week before Juan Soto signed, maybe a little bit less than that, probably like 5 days. Juan Soto and Pete Alonso would go hand in hand this offseason. And it's kind of like an inverse thinking, right? Because a lot of fans were like, if the Mets strike out on Juan Soto, they have to bring Pete Alonso back. No. If the Mets missed out on Juan Soto, they probably were going to pivot, in my opinion, somewhere else and move on from Pete Alonso. Because, again, the outlook changes at that point, right? You're still probably a playoff potential team, contender, but you're not a championship contender. You know what I mean? And so now that you got Juan Soto, you're going for it. To maximize the power in this lineup, you bring Pete Alonso back. They go hand in hand. And I've said this a lot of times. I even put a video out. I said full bore 2.0, right? Juan Soto comes over. You retain Pete. We can have different lineup combination discussions another time, right? But that top five is powerful.
Hell yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's a pipe dream. It's definitely realistic, but it's a big risk and doesn't go toward the fact that you want to win in 2025 if you're going to go down the route of trying to wait out for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Because that's what all Mets fans want to talk about. That don't like Pete, they want to talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which I would be more than happy to have on the New York Mets, right? He's a free agent next season. I have my doubts that the Blue Jays are going to trade him. They just picked up Andres Jimenez for a reason. You know what I mean? They made that trade for a reason. So, again, there's a lot of different pivot points you can point toward to replace Pete Alonso, right? I mean, the crosstown guys are eyeing Christian Walker. The latest report was the Nationals are also eyeing Christian Walker. I'd love Christian Walker as well. He'd be great. He doesn't give you as much power potential, even though he has hit for power before. Definitely not as much as Pete Alonso. And the one thing that I think people have lost sight of is that I know that he has struggled with the runners in scoring position primarily in 2024. The clutch numbers haven't been there for the most part in 2023 and 2024. I understand that. I get that. People are making him out to be the next Kyle Schwarber. I still look at Pete Alonso. I think he has much more to offer at the plate than being a Kyle Schwarber and just putting the ball out of the ballpark at a high clip. I think he still has gap-to-gap power. I still think he is a versatile enough hitter, especially if you pair him with a Juan Soto, which is why I am screaming, if the Mets are able to get this done, you bat Juan Soto behind Pete Alonso instead of in front. But again, we'll get to that conversation if this happens, because we still have to talk numbers for Pete Alonso, right? What the Mets offered him, rumored to be like, 7 years or 6 years, something like that, 156, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I forget. I forget what it was 6 years and exactly the numbers. That's another thing. I'm all over the place as to what that could be. I mean, you see the Willie Adames contract, you see stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know, but I just want the guy back. And listen, you say that, and people, well, Vladimir Guerrero is better than Pete Alonso.
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
100%.
I'm
I
not
agree with
arguing that. I'm
Yeah.
not arguing that. And this is what I've told people the last few days. Until there's been a resolution with Pete Alonso, I don't want to entertain any conversation about no damn Christian Walker, no Paul Goldschmidt, I think is available, no trade for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It doesn't mean that these guys don't have certain better traits than Pete Alonso. I take Pete Alonso over Christian Walker and Goldschmidt any day. Any day. Christian Walker's older. Goldschmidt's already shown that he's on the decline that everybody's predicting for Pete Alonso. And Pete Alonso is ours. Again, is Vladimir Guerrero a better hitter all around than Pete Alonso? Absolutely. Is he a better defender? I think I forget who I was talking to. They say, yeah, the numbers show it, whatever. I don't know how long Van Guerrero can stay on the field. We talk about guys being a DH pretty soon with that body type of his. And credit to him, I know he's put in the work, but still, I worry about a body type like a Vlad Jr. And I'm a big guy, so I'm not shaming or anything like that. I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. But for me, CP, we talk about overpaying guys. Another thing is everybody worry about, that contract is not going to age well. Well, I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. 90% of contracts don't age well.
Exactly.
I know it sounds ridiculous to talk about it right now. This Juan Soto contract is not going to age well. That's a long ways off.
Yep.
And it's hard to even fathom that, right? And it sounds ridiculous to even bring it up because he's 26 years old. He's not going to be 26 forever. Next year, this time, he'll be 27.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So all these contracts age bad. We're going to give out bad contracts in our time. We're going to do it. That's what happens. I'd rather do it with one of my own than someone that I go get from somewhere else. Now, again, what do I say here? Are the Mets ready to move on from Pete Alonso? Now, if the Mets decide, you know what? We love Pete Alonso. We know the fan base loves Pete Alonso. We know what Pete Alonso can mean to the history of this team, all of that good stuff. But we feel the better move right now is to go and make this trade for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And they do that trade, then I'm all on board with Vlad Jr. It'll be another De Lo Mio, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It'll be another Dominican, and I don't even get into that much. I know I've had fun with the Soto thing, Dominican power, and all that good stuff. At the end of the day, I don't give a damn where you from. Just be a good fucking ball player for the New York Mets.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
I
So-
agree with you too. For me, I will say, I guess I will disagree a little bit with like the homegrown stuff. I look at, like you said earlier, if you are wearing the front of the jersey, right, that says METS, I'm going to root for you, right? And I think that taking that into consideration, even putting aside the fact that he's homegrown, whatever, because again, loyalty means nothing to players nowadays. I think that we can all say that, and with good reason. It's a business at the end of the day. I get that. There's some feel good stories, right, where a guy is able to, play his entire career with one team, but we're seeing that less and less frequently now, right, for a reason, right? So that's not so much of a concern of mine as is, of the options available right now. I think Christian Walker would be a fine pivot point, but we haven't heard any smoke about the Mets and Christian Walker, which again, is that for a reason? Is that for mean nothing, whatever. But I think about putting the best lineup together, especially if Pete is able to, have some. And again, I hate to say this about Pete because he's had ample protection. He's had the opportunity to be that guy in the lineup, and he hasn't proven that for me, to be honest with you. He hasn't proven that he could be that guy on a championship caliber team. At least as much as what we saw in his rookie year when he broke the home run record, right? I mean, at that point, we were like having those types of discussions. And I think that he slowly, especially after 2022, progressed to not. But he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be. You've got Juan Soto now.
I think a Pete Alonso would have. I'm sorry to interrupt, because I think a Pete Alonso with a contract and now in a better lineup with a Juan Soto, because just the one addition of Juan Soto makes this lineup so much better, dude. So much better. And you know, I think that Pete Alonso will be so much better. And maybe more of like the guy that you're talking about that we dreamed of, that we thought that he could maybe be. The guy that he talked about being. And I don't know what happened. Somewhere along the way, he got infatuated and he fell in love with being that power guy and instead of being that hitter that's just going to get the job done and he's going to use the whole field. Because this is how he came up talking. That's what I loved about Pete Alonso at first, is that he talked about using the whole field and not having to, pull the ball and stuff like that. But somewhere along the way, he kind of lost that. And not only was he talking about it, he was doing it. I remember being at a bunch of games where he was chasing the record at the end in hopes of maybe catching the ball, right? And I kept saying, man, I have no shot because I'm usually in left field and he hits a lot of his balls out to right center field. And of course, where was his record-setting home run? Out to right center field. You know what I'm saying? So but something happened where, and listen, and we heard it earlier this year, we heard it this season where Francisco Alvarez, where outside voices were getting in his head about pull the ball, going for home runs. Maybe the same thing happened with Pete Alonso, and they were successful in making him try to do that. The success that he had in the home run contest made him try to be more of that power hitter and all that. But I think a calm, relaxed Pete Alonso under contract in a much better lineup will be a better Pete Alonso. And as we're talking about Pete Alonso, I was thinking about this guy a little while ago, and I was going to bring him up. I got to get Rob to either get me on the show. I got to pay attention. I try to watch you guys as much as possible. Sometimes I'm on the road, and it's hard when I'm working. But you guys see, I get up in the comments and stuff. But I want to know where Rob is right now with Pete Alonso. I know me and Rob were added a lot with Pete because Rob wanted to put all of the Mets failures on Pete and Pete only. And it should drive me crazy, my guy Rob. But salute to you, Rob. You guys are the legends, damn it. I ain't shit. I'm just trying to be like you guys. But shout out to
Rob's
Rob.
on board with Pete, man. As much as he's has been a little bit of a Pete slanderer, I think he's on board with Pete. That's the consensus that I get.
Good. CP, man, this has been great. Thanks for joining me. Again, I wanted to react to the conference, and again, I was like, how am I gonna fill time? So I wanted to talk about a few of these things, and you helped me move that conversation along, right? Because I could just come here and talk to myself as much as I want to, and the comments help. Shout out to everybody in the chat and all the comments. The comments are always great, but thank you for coming through and having this conversation with me, man. And as always, look forward to having it a lot more. I don't consider this the official, CP day. Well, I guess this is a debut, but the official CP appearance on Blunt Thoughts. But it was fun, and again, thank you. But let's see. I had started a few comments, but I think we touched on everything. Then a few people made a couple of comments. Appreciate you, Sam. Love it, guys. Keep it on. Keep it on coming on. Again, I show that I can't read English. Let's see. But let's see if there's anything. The best part is Soto is in our lineup, takes the pressure off Pete. I agree. Pete, Nemo, McNeil, if he stays, and Alvin. What you thoughts on Alvin real quick? I'm expecting a big bounce back year from Alvin, man.
Yeah, me too. I think we started to see him again. I know there's a lot of people who want to maximize power. They want to prioritize the pull. The ball leaves more efficiently out of the yard, right? When you pull the baseball, that's been known. But you sacrifice a lot of other things. And with as bad as Francisco Alvarez was, you could definitely see him pulling off the baseball last year down the stretch, and something clicked right in that last series against the Dodgers. Last couple games, started spraying the ball the other way. Good things happen, man. Good things happen. I think the home runs will present themselves in one way or another as long as you keep an up the middle approach. I think the up the middle approach is the best thing because it maximizes your bat through the zone. And we're getting technical here in terms of baseball terms, but you can reach, depending on your timing, you reach it at any point. And if you're late a little bit, other way, if you're early, boom, it's going to be to the pull side. And I think that base hits, especially extra base hits, is to be had to all fields, right? And that's what I like. The home run guys are going to get their home runs. It's going to happen, right? but how many doubles are you hitting me? You know what I mean? How many doubles in a key situation are you hitting me? Pete Alonso last year, there's plenty of opportunities for him in the summer to not even hit that grand slam or the 3-run home run, but just put the ball in the gap, get 2 RBIs, move the chain along. And it just didn't happen for him more oftentimes than not. So that's the same thing that I'm expecting with Alvy. He's got the tool set, and I think he has the mindset that's most important. So I think that he understands that. And I think that as what we've seen with his offseason videos, he's as hard of a worker as anybody on this team. And I think that he'll get right. And I think that that will also, with the addition of Juan Soto, just having Alvarez come back to form, right? And Brandon Nimmo, hopefully the same thing, come back to form. I think that lineup will be that much better than 2024's. And then you have to factor in Juan Soto after that, just putting it over the top. But again, bring our guy Pete back. Got more to offer, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. I think that's the good thing about both of those young guys, right? That they work so hard, because we see it with Vientos too. And it's something that I said last year. Now we have another guy that I kept saying, man, Alvy and Vientos are buddies. Why doesn't Alvy copy Vientos, right? And it's something that I'm hoping that he keeps continue is exactly what you said, using that middle part of the field. Another thing that I think that is missing from today's game that other guys back in the days took more pride in is, when there's ducks on the pond, I gotta get them in. Guys back in the days took pride in that, you know what? It's not just about hitting the home run. Let me hit the ball in the gap. Let me hit that double. I know they're gonna pitch me tough here because I'm Pete Alonso and I got men on base. They're not gonna give me the pitch for me to hit a home run. And if they do, I can hit it naturally. Let me focus on just taking the ball the other way or whatever the case may be. And I think, not that these guys don't want to drive the runs in, because obviously they do, but I don't think they take as much pride as being RBI guys as the guys in the past did. And that's what kind of frustrates me now with the new focus on the new numbers and the dismissal of the RBIs and stuff like that. But
that's one guy that frustrated me with that. The situation for me, second and third, 1 out, anything less than 2 outs, even man on third, less than 2 outs, dude, just hit a ground ball to the right side, bring me the run in. That's all I need. And Harrison Bader, I know he wasn't brought in to be that guy offensively, but he did that more oftentimes than not. And I just could not take it, man. I could not take it.
Yes. No, but I think the addition of a guy like Soto, who I think at times, I'll be honest, I know I'm going to get frustrated a little bit because I'm going to want him to be a little bit more aggressive. I know everybody's high on the on-base percentage and taking the walks and stuff like that, but sometimes you need to be a little bit aggressive. But his approach of staying and using all parts of the ballpark is what I'm hoping rubs off on these guys more than anything. So, yeah, man, let's shut this down. 2 hours and 12 minutes. CP, thank you so much. I did want to highlight this here. What was it? Well, Darren, who said in 2022, P hit 271 with 41 home runs and drove in a record 131 runs. That wasn't that far off.
That P is still available. I'm telling you, he still got that in him.
I think that P could still come out. Cindy, who says the best part about Alvy is that he's only 23 years old. Hey, we're making a big deal about a 26-year-old Juan Soto. There goes another guy who's very young. Cindy, who doesn't give a damn. She shares her age, says, Hector, you're speaking to my 49-year-old's heart. That's my favorite part of baseball, and I miss it too. That's because I'm a 48-year-old fart, Cindy. Now that you're a 48-year-old fart, I'm sure beautiful 49 years old. I'm a 48-year-old fart, so we're there, I can hit you there. And I think the best statement that we can end it on is this here. Cohen and Sotos have made many Mets fans happy. Absolutely. Absolutely they have. Oh, of course. I'm waiting for you to buy me the jersey. Oh, I thought he said, did you guys go and get your jersey? No, listen.
I got mine on pre-order, man. I got mine on pre-order. Nice to see Junior in the chat.
It looked beautiful. Always great to see Junior in the chat. It looked beautiful, Junior. And I'll be honest, guys, if you follow any of my content, you've heard me say before, I don't buy current player jerseys. I only own 2 jerseys. Gary Carter, my favorite player, and Darryl Strawberry, who's right up there, my number 2 favorite player. I think this might be the first current player that may actually go by. I wanted this guy for a long time.
Yeah.
We got him, and he's here for 15 years. There's something. What do you think of this? They kept bringing up him and Boris kept saying maybe 20 years.
20, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude, you know what that made me think, CP? In 5 years, when he has that opt-out, even though the Mets have like that built-in clause, Garrett Cole style, where all they have to do is kick in the extra $4 million, is he gonna be looking for an extra 5 years after that, or whatever the hell? Is he gonna say no? I don't want just that $4 million. I want another 5 years tagged onto. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be something else. But that kept jumping out at me. Like they kept saying 20 years, 20.
Nah, man, he's not.
You gonna give me that number 12 jersey?
He's not going nowhere, man. All right, man. I gotta hop out of here. I got some stuff to do. Heck, man, I appreciate you. You got great content. Listen, this is how good the content is. This is how good the conversations are. I was on here. I was scheduled to be here for 15 minutes, give you 15, 20 minutes because I do have some stuff to do, errands to run. But you got me in here for damn near an hour, over an hour, man. This is awesome. I appreciate you. And again, this isn't the only time, hopefully. Again, I'm not going to invite myself on your channel, but you let me know in the DMs.
Welcome anytime, brother. And anytime you see me on and you want to pop on because either you don't agree or disagree or whatever, or you just want to add to the content, you're more than welcome. I think everybody here knows, and if they don't know, let them know where they can find all your good stuff, man.
Yes, CP NY Sports on YouTube. I just made a new X account, trying to build up the True Mets Talk podcast. That's what I do. It's the True Mets Talk podcast. Almost daily videos. At least it has been. I'm going on vacation here soon, so you might see a little bit less of me for like 5 days, something like that. But it's been a lot of streams that we've been doing with Rob and myself. A lot of different videos, trying to just get into the mind of David Stearns in terms of what his next move might be and talking about all realistic scenarios. So at True Mets Talk on X, at CPNY Sports over here. I got a new video coming up soon. If not tonight, tomorrow for sure. And just be on the lookout. So I appreciate it.
No doubt. I appreciate you. And like you said, this won't be the last time. Definitely we're going to do a lot more of this. And I got to get Rob on here. But like CP always says, guys, smash that like, share, subscribe button. I'm horrible at that stuff. We should have been telling you guys that. Hope you guys did it. If you didn't do it, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and follow my guy CP. Thank you, all of you guys. Cindy, thank you. Thank everybody. Let's fucking go Mets, baby. Let's go Mets. Peace.
Let's go Mets. Peace.